When it comes to digitalization, the world is moving faster than ever before. We like, we swipe, we stream, we share, no matter where, no matter when. But digitalization is not only affecting our personal lives. Entire business and job models are changing. Industries are evolving towards a new era, and companies that don't adapt will simply vanish. This transformation is driven by smart products in a purely digital process called smart manufacturing. But whose factories are smart today? How can a manufacturer become faster, more agile and efficient without excessive costs? MOM, the Manufacturing Operations Management System, is the answer. MOM is essential for smart manufacturing to create a digital twin of operations that is perfectly integrated with automation and the real factory. It is the digital brain in the manufacturing space, understanding the goals of the smart product, using abstraction techniques to link to shop floor devices, and making them even smarter. The resources required for each smart product are optimally allocated by the MOM scheduling system. And the MOM execution engine guides the smart product through the factory, interacting with automation, operators, and logistics, guaranteeing high quality and enhancing manufacturing efficiency. All data coming from the shop floor is collected by MOM and contextualized with detailed manufacturing information. Using closed-loop manufacturing and quality, MOM fills the gaps between execution, product engineering, and production planning, enabling continuous improvements of your factory and seamless new product introductions. Join Siemens and the enterprise digitalization. Start your journey towards smart manufacturing.
Siemens, ingenuity for life.
When it comes to digitalization, the world is moving faster than ever before. We like, we swipe, we stream, we share, no matter where, no matter when. But digitalization is not only affecting our personal lives. Entire business and job models are changing. Industries are evolving towards a new era, and companies that don't adapt will simply vanish. This transformation is driven by smart products in a purely digital process called smart manufacturing. But whose factories are smart today? How can a manufacturer become faster, more agile and efficient without excessive costs? MOM, the Manufacturing Operations Management System, is the answer. MOM is essential for smart manufacturing to create a digital twin of operations that is perfectly integrated with automation and the real factory. It is the digital brain in the manufacturing space, understanding the goals of the smart product, using abstraction techniques to link to shop floor devices, and making them even smarter. The resources required for each smart product are optimally allocated by the MOM scheduling system. And the MOM execution engine guides the smart product through the factory, interacting with automation, operators, and logistics, guaranteeing high quality and enhancing manufacturing efficiency. All data coming from the shop floor is collected by MOM and contextualized with detailed manufacturing information. Using closed-loop manufacturing and quality, MOM fills the gaps between execution, product engineering, and production planning, enabling continuous improvements of your factory and seamless new product introductions. Join Siemens and the enterprise digitalization. Start your journey towards smart manufacturing.
Siemens. Ingenuity for life.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Zuili Eklere, and I am from Publish Industry India Private Limited. Publish Industry India is a 100% subsidiary of Publish Industry Verlag GmbH Germany that publishes the trade magazines A&D India, Automation and Digitization, and EM, Efficient Manufacturing. I will be your host for today's conference, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the virtual conference on manufacturing revival with technology innovations, effective collaboration across manufacturing value chain. Everyone is hoping that the COVID-19 pandemic will end within months and things will go back to normal thanks to the aggressive vaccination drive. What most of us consider normal has already fundamentally shifted, which is the new normal now. Manufacturers who understand and act on this new normal will have ample opportunities for growth. While office employees and knowledge workers are able to shift to remote work, most factories are simply not designed to be managed remotely and lack the digital tools and infrastructure needed to support such activities. Although the current crisis has accelerated the adoption of digitalization technologies, greater visibility and coordination across the industry value chain, it will enable better collaboration between various departments, ultimately driving decoupled, highly efficient, and more resilient supply chains. In this context, context, Publish Industry India brings you the virtual conference on manufacturing revival with technology innovations, which will discuss and deliberate on the action plan for manufacturing revival and technology innovations for the new normal. Industry leaders and experts will highlight the priorities for industry professionals and deliberate on the ways to bounce back and manage the growth in the coming years. So before we begin today's forum, I'd like to give out a few instructions to our revered speakers and panelists so that the forum can function smoothly and without any hindrances. To begin with, I'd like to request everyone to check that your internet connection is stable. It's best if you're using wired LAN connection. For a smoother connection with no issues, you can make sure that the other tabs on your computer or mobile phone are closed. Also, please check that your web cameras and make sure you're facing the light so that our attendees can see you properly. Also, I would request you to keep your cameras and audio switched off and turn them on only after your names have been announced so that our attendees will know exactly who you are. At the end of each address and the panel discussion, we'll be open to Q&As. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A icon, a small icon. Over there, you can just click and put in your questions for our panelists and our speakers. Also, I would request all the speakers to please wrap up their addresses in 2 to 3 minutes before your allotted time so that we will have time for the Q&As that our audience has for you. So let me take you through today's agenda. Our conference will begin with the first keynote address on AI for manufacturing, scalable intelligence for resilience and agility by Mr. Somal Gupta, digital business development expert, Intact AI. This will be followed by our first technology presentation by Mr. Nitin Malvadkar, Country Technical Manager, Mainstream Engineering in Siemens Industry Software. Next, there will be the second keynote address on revolutionize the future of manufacturing through innovations by Ms. Rajeshri Rao, Head of AI Innovations Hub and Partnerships and Ecosystem, APAC for R2 Data Labs, Rolls-Royce. After that, we'll have the second technology presentation by Mr. Sahir Patel, Portfolio Development Leader, Siemens Industry Software. Followed by that, we will have 3 polls for you to vote on. After this, it will be time for the panel discussion on effective collaboration across manufacturing value chain. So ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, I am thrilled to announce that we have the second edition of our virtual manufacturing technology expo, which is happening next month from June 15 to 18. You can register for this expo by going on our LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages and be a part of it. So let us begin today's conference. I would like to invite Mr. Somal Gupta, Digital Business Development Expert, Intact AI, to give the keynote address on AI for manufacturing, scalable intelligence for resilience and agility. Mr. Somal Gupta is an AI and digital business development expert and AI strategy advisor to Nordic MNCs focusing on agile business processes and AI productization, operationalization, and monetization. Prior to this, Mr. Somal led the business development for digital and AI solutions for Bosch in the Nordics. Mr. Gupta, over to you.
Thank you, Yuli. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, and let me just share my screen. And please let me know if you can see the presentation.
Yes, we can see it.
All right, fantastic. So thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me here. Thank you for the kind introduction. And so my name is Somal Gupta, and today I would like to talk about AI for manufacturing. And I'll try to convince you that I know most companies are investing in AI, and probably you are following a strategy like most where you're trying to go for the low-hanging fruits. And I would like to try to convince you that maybe there's an alternative, because the reality today is what we are seeing globally is that 7 out of 10 AI initiatives are failing to generate any business returns or any business outcomes, measurable business outcomes. And that's a worrying situation, because if you see the amount that we have earmarked for development, is quite huge. And if 70% of that is not gonna give us any returns, then we are in huge trouble. And to start the kind of conversation, let's first go with what do we mean by agility and resilience, and what exactly is driving this new paradigm? So the first thing that we are seeing, everywhere in the world is that the buying habits of the consumers are evolving. So consumers, today they want more customized products and services. They want 24/7 same day delivery. They want a better experience. They want comprehensive service. But at the same time, we also see that the business landscape is changing heavily. We see a lot more disruption. We see a lot more competition globally. There are constant innovations because of technology, and that is shrinking the product life cycles. So what we have as a result is that the new uncertainties that we face today are not coming because we are not able to predict. The new uncertainties are coming because of the complexities that are inherent in the supply chain network and in the consumer behavior. And I would like to, and if we see the outcome or the result of this uncertainty is that we have got the kind of opposing objectives that we have to satisfy. For example, we need to offer more choices to our customers, but at the same time, we want to lower our cost. We want higher fulfillment rates, but at the same time, we want to have a low inventory. We want to have much higher OEE, but we don't want to have the downtime. So my first argument is that even after prediction and even after integration, going forward, we will still have a lot more uncertainty that cannot be eliminated or that cannot be avoided, but it has to be managed. So you will have the residual uncertainties, a large share of it, which needs to be managed by our manufacturing capacity. Now, we know that the traditional manufacturing systems, they fall short because they are not flexible, they are very slow to change. The processes are rigid. We have a very high coupling and dependencies, and this is probably not going to help us. The data-driven agility that we expect is not going to come from these manufacturing systems because they are more or less incompatible. And we know that that is why we are here today. So what is the way forward? One of the capabilities that we want from a digital manufacturing strategy is to give us what we call as strategic flexibility. And strategic flexibility is basically the capability of an organization to rapidly switch between different strategies. That means today, if you look at variability and volume as the two scales, most organizations are either tuned for higher flexibility or for higher volume. There is very few companies are in between, but this becomes a challenge if we want to handle variability at scale. So we need that agility, we need the strategic capability so that we can handle flexibility and volume together at scale. And that is the cornerstone of agile manufacturing. What we mean by agile manufacturing is that we have flexible assets and advanced analytics. We have much faster data-driven decision cycles, and we have lower planning overheads and quick turnarounds. And the enablers for us to build these capabilities are basically what we want to have production and process agility at scale. We want to have continuous optimization. We want to integrate customer experience more and more in the manufacturing process, and we want to manage the variability, like customizations, demand fluctuations, etc., much more effectively and much more efficiently. Now, many companies follow different models when they go for their digital manufacturing journey. One model which I found is very interesting is this. The maturity framework provided by SHU. You can find the source at the bottom for this paper. Their approach is, works well because number one, it's focused on value, and number two, they define very concrete and measurable maturity steps which you can take. So you start with computerization and connectivity, but then you go for visibility so that you can see what is happening. Then you go one step further in maturity and you know why it is happening. And then you have transparency. Then you go one step further and then you have predictability. But the ultimate game is adaptability, because now you know what's going to happen and you can do something about it. So this maturity model, I believe, works well. And what we'll see in the future is how can we use this maturity framework for developing the scalable intelligence for our manufacturing. So maturity, if you see in a very, if you have to simply define what maturity is, it's the matching of capability with intelligence, right? So on one axis, you have intelligence, and on the other axis, you have capability. And it's important that we have the match, because if we have high intelligence and low capability, that means we will have a lot of insights which we cannot use. That means we have lost opportunities. On the other hand, if we have high capability but not enough intelligence, we probably have a wasted capacity. So the route to value realization as in this framework, is to have a balance between intelligence and capability, and this is what we should target. Now, if you want to make it a little bit more concrete, we know that with connecting our assets, with connecting our machines, we're going towards a more networked production paradigm. That means we want to have integrated machines and business processes that are very intelligently orchestrated and optimized. So the capability wise, we see that the linear topology will become network topology. We want to move from fixed capacity and throughput to variable capacity and throughput. And this is kind of I don't think it's a big realization for anyone, because if you try to solve the challenges of multiple constraints, you end up anyway into a network kind of topology. But what we have to also understand that when we move into a different paradigm of network, we also need the corresponding intelligence. That means we need data-driven flow orchestration. We need the capability to do division and root cause analysis. We need a lot more what-if simulations, and we need a lot more data-driven real-time decision-making for our manufacturing. So the capability that we want to achieve from the agile manufacturing, it is not possible for us to do that with our human cognition. We need, and plus it's also not possible to do that with our current level of automation. So we need a much higher level of intelligence to orchestrate this. And this is where we come to the scalable intelligence. And I'm going to show you an example how it typically works. So if we look at the different dimensions, so we look at the intelligence capability, let's also look at outcomes. What are we going to achieve? And we look at returns. Returns, because being a monetization advisor, I get paid not to build stuff, but help my clients generate returns. So measurable top line or bottom line impact. And if I intend to be in business for a long time, then I have to ensure that my clients are able to generate these returns consistently and sustainably over time. So now we combine the 4 dimensions and we see how can we use the maturity framework to actually build our scale our intelligence, scale our AI in manufacturing. So we start with a very, very low level, where all intelligence that we have is basically the ability to build the analytics and dashboards. So you have some data and you're able to create some dashboards. The associated capability that we can work on is to improve our traceability and improve our monitoring. And the outcome that you can target is better mistake proofing, and then you can use it to reduce probably your sourcing costs. Then once you achieve this level of maturity, we go to the next level of maturity, which is transparency. And now the intelligence has increased and we can do trend and pattern detection. And now we couple this intelligence with corresponding capability, which is to have more dynamic processes and more digital workflows, which will help us improve forecasting. Then we go to the next level of maturity, which is predictability. And here we are able to build the prediction systems, and the corresponding capability is to do augmented processes and what if simulation. And we use this to do a much better production leveling. And from there, once we have that level of maturity, then we go to adaptability, which is we want to have prescriptive systems or expert systems, which will, the corresponding capability is to build more adaptive processes and have a more wider value chain level visibility, and then have a flexible capacity to have much better orchestrate our value chain cost. So you see, if we go to the maturity model, it's easier for us to match the capability and intelligence. And what I have come to realize is that the AI and the manufacturing capabilities, they actually reinforce each other. They are like two sides of the same coin. And if we invest in the agile way, step by step, to build our maturity, it is much easier for us to drive towards the agility and resilience. Now, what we are aiming right now, if you see the use cases that you do, probably are maybe more to do with NUS or to do with simple problems. But the reason why we have to go for this approach is because going forward, when we look at the typical kind of ideal scenario or ideal network production facility, we need multiple different type of intelligence working together. So we need the machine configuration and control as one kind of system that is helping us configure our machines properly. We need another AI system to do our layout modeling and simulation. We need another AI system to do orchestrate and optimize our material flow. So if you want to come to that, if you really want to have the network production as a reality, we need to start working on the intelligence and the AI components right now. if someone is assuming that they can do it altogether sometime in future, it's not going to work, because capability and intelligence, they have to go together. So this has been my this is something that I wanted to share with you, because what we have seen in the market is that most companies, they try to kind of focus too much on the low-hanging fruits and try to focus too much on the data part, but they're not looking at the corresponding capability. Wherever we have found success is those companies who have been able to balance their capability with the level of intelligence. So just to kind of reiterate, the first argument that I made was the new emerging complexities, they need to be managed. You cannot avoid them. We need smart orchestration and of networked assets to handle the variability at scale. The maturity of our maturity is we are defining it as a match between capability and intelligence. The improvement in strategic flexibility, that means the capability requires corresponding improvement in intelligence, and that is how we move towards higher and higher maturity in terms of resilience and agility. Intelligence and capability reinforce each other. And finally, the scalable what we need truly is a scalable intelligence that can scale from one machine or one use case to the entire value chain. So this was what I wanted to share with you. And I don't know how much time I took, but you know, if you have any questions, I would like to answer them now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for that very engaging address. So you're absolutely right when you say that capability and intelligence definitely go together, but you're absolutely right when you say that we need strategic flexibility. So that is something I absolutely agree with on you. And now I would like to ask Mr. Shekhar Jitkar to please take over and ask any questions if we have from the audience for you. Mr. Jitkar?
Yes. Hi, Somil.
Hey, hi, Shekhar.
Hi, it was
Thank
great
you.
having you in today's conference. It was
Thank
quite
you.
insightful and a very, I can say this is a forward-looking presentation. And I hope people will get to understand the things very fast, because this is the need of the hour, especially during the pandemic period. So I have one question. Like you just mentioned about this strategic flexibility that requires corresponding improvement in the intelligence. So can you just elaborate more on that, especially from the SME point of view, how it goes?
See, so okay, so what's happening really is when we look at industry, basically when I started, the industry 4.0 or the IoT aspect was kind of working separately, and there was a big drive initially to say, okay, let's connect all our machines together, let's connect, let's have a visibility on this thing. And but at the same time, at that time the AI part was not that much advanced, or people were not talking so much about AI. And what we have come to see when we implement different use cases, whether it comes to quality, whether it comes to forecasting, is that, for example, many companies today, they are working on predictive maintenance, right? And they're working too much on the predictive part, but they are not working so much on their supply chain competence. They still have the same supply chain systems where even if they know that a machine is going to fail in 2 weeks' time, there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. And we see this as a consistent pattern in both small companies and large companies, that they're first of all, SMEs, I think, are still kind of a little bit on that fence, thinking about whether they should involve in technology or not. But whoever is actually doing so is also kind of looking only just one dimension. Okay, I have this data, what do I do with it? But data itself, if you just work on data and if you just work on analytics, it's not gonna give you it's not gonna give you results, because the ability for, and I'll tell you the kind of questions that come to me when the clients that ask is, we have these ideas, how do we convert them into viable projects or viable products and services? We have built some assets in data and AI. You know, how do we get our business users adopt it? And if you see the kind of the underlying reason for most of these challenges is that companies have been too much thinking about intelligence in isolation, but not thinking about the new capabilities that they need. And when we start working on the capability front, whether it's a small company or a large company, they start getting immediate returns, because the moment you find the intelligence and you match it with a certain problem and you start building capability, you see people are able to use that intelligence in a much better way. So if you want to drive adoption and utilization of data and AI or any kind of intelligence, people need to be empowered. The processes need to be empowered. The systems need to change. You cannot expect to work on the same ERP systems or the same manufacturing systems and try to have different results, because these systems are built for a different purpose. They were built for to have a level of stability. They were not built for agility. So, and the moment companies realize this, they realize, okay, the problem is not that I'm not building enough data, but the problem is that my muscles are not that strong. And then they start building, then they start investing into more flexible systems and into new ways of working. And that is what is giving them more a better returns or a much better outcome than just working on the intelligence. And this is something which I felt is could be useful for everybody. Even a little bit, a slight investment in your capabilities or building a new system, a new way of working, gives you many times more benefits compared to just working on the data and intelligence part. Sorry for a longer answer, but I have to give the background.
So basically, it's all this intelligence is mainly largely driven by data, right?
The intelligence is largely driven by data, but also by scenarios, because most companies, they have been doing this continuous improvement program for a very long time. So they do have a lot of ideas that they want to implement. Data and new technologies are giving us a way to experiment them and simulate them in a much more agile way, in a much more cheaper way. You can simulate the outcome, much more easily, and then you deploy them. So deployment is where you need, most companies need a little bit of work and need to work on the capability and the infrastructure part.
Yeah, that's what I was asking, that if it is largely driven by data, and especially in many of the current industry sectors, or in, say, for example, factories, data is the big problem, because the data is not very organizedly collected, and there is no proper supervision, or I can say the data storage or data monitoring is not very equipped. So yes, how do you go about that?
So there are two ways of working on it. So some companies, they find value when they try to work on the integration. So basically do the hard way. You have legacy systems and you have to get data from it. But the other way, which has also worked, is to create new data collection systems. So you define, for example, many companies, they do for retrofit or upgrade kits, and they just bypass the whole mechanism. Much easier, much simpler for you overall, if you see from a total cost of ownership perspective, to actually install a new set of sensors to measure the process or the phenomena and have a completely different loop for that, rather than to try to change the existing. I know there's a lot of wealth of data which is available in the legacy systems, but if you're not able to access it, what's the point? So the approach which I suggest is to go for the least resistance. The easiest thing for you is to measure what you can measure and work with it, because the returns that we generate, even for simpler initiatives, we are able to reinvest that returns back into the company and back into the invest them into building these capabilities and building new technology. So data is a problem, but I don't think that saying this over and over or repeating this over and over, because I'm hearing the same excuse for last 5 years that data is a problem. We need to do something about it, and there are ways you can do it. If you just kind of change your mindset and stop thinking of data as a problem. Most companies now, for example, if you look at the OPC UA, most companies are now offering the OPC UA as a standard. So it is possible for you to get data from your PLC system or automation system. It will take a bit of an investment and effort, but it is possible. So keep working on what is possible, and then we can do for what, or we can also do something that is maybe difficult or impossible.
Okay. The next question is from Vinodini Ganpati. I don't know if it is a question or a comment. If you use agile step by step and finish the model, then the data would have already changed and have to return and re-optimize the model.
Yes, but then we are not kind of keeping the model static. The way we deploying models are, so basically when we look at modeling, it's not one-time activity, but it's about building the model and then deploying it and continuously operating it. So when we look at the ML ops, for example, or the model ops, it's about continuously training the model with the new data. So what we are creating really is the pipeline of data from the source system to the model, and then the model keeps updating itself with the new data. So that's the part. So model will not get old; it will keep getting updated as we have new data.
Okay. The next question is from Jyotbir Singh. Is changing ERP a must for AI implementation?
I don't think so, and I wouldn't prescribe. The cost of change would be too high. So the easier way is to find, because the ERP is a transactional system. It is not built for managing it's not built for managing your changing basically the MES kind of a solution. So changing ERP may not be the idea, but a good idea would be to have a system below ERP, an MES kind of a system, which will take over the orchestration and the optimization job and just post the results to the ERP. So, I mean, most companies, you still need the ERP system. The problem is actually not the ERP. The problem is all your processes are built into the ERP. The moment you take the processes out of the ERP becomes a lot more easy to manage. And that's why if you see the most companies in the BPM space, they are not now focusing on having the processes in the BPM systems and BRM systems and not in the ERP anymore. It's easy to orchestrate.
Okay. Another question is from Mr. R. Bhaskar. The Raspberry, will it help for data monitoring? I don't understand.
Yes, and I mean, I think he's asking about the Raspberry Pi.
Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know to what extent they have gone in terms of industrializing, because typically, if you want to deploy something in your industrial environment, you need something like IP67 class, which is dust and water protection. But I would definitely say Raspberry Pi is a good place to start. And I can say so because I'm not a technical guy, but when I was implementing the projects with with the clients or with Bosch, we used to, that was a starting point for us. Okay. It was much easier to do a proof of concept, much cheaper to fail fast. So I would definitely recommend that. But at the same time, also try to, once you're doing the once you're testing your hypothesis, or once you're testing your use cases, definitely have a scalability plan, because I don't think Raspberry Pi would help you to scale your use case. So you need more industrialized hardware, more kind of heavy duty piece of hardware. But the Raspberry is definitely a good place to start. Okay.
Right, that was great, and it was really very insightful and future-looking insights on the artificial intelligence which you presented. I'm sure this will be of interest to a lot of our people from the industry, especially the people who are working in the factory, who are always in need of some kind of feedback from the systems or from the operations which they are working on. So thanks, Somil. It was again a pleasure having you here.
Thanks, Shikhar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm going to be here anyway. I'm going to be around listening to you. So I'm going to stop my video and.
Sure. Over to you, Joely.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, moving on now. It's now time for the first technology presentation by Mr. Nitin Malvadkar, Country Technical Manager, Mainstream Engineering, Siemens Industries Software. So, Mr. Malvadkar, over to you.
Thanks, Judy. I hope I'm audible and my screen is visible to you.
The screen is visible and you are audible, yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So, good afternoon all. Like Judy mentioned, my name is Nitin Malvadkar, and I'm working with Siemens as a country technical manager for Mainstream Engineering. And for today's session, I'll be talking about how small and medium businesses can actually utilize digitalization for managing their competitive challenges. So, to start off, I would like to talk about a survey that we did, among organizations, just to find out what are the trends that they see. Now, these are some of the trends that they told us about. The first one is that the customers are looking for customized products and as per their requirements. The second one is that with the advent of technology, we see a lot of increase of electrical content, and now customers are actually looking for intelligent and connected products as well. Another trend that we saw was, there is additional pressure on manufacturers to not only reduce the product's time to market, but most importantly, maintain the reliability and the performance of that particular product as well. Another trend that we saw was that digitalization is gaining pace even in the manufacturing sector. And the last one, specific to the current times, since team members are working from home, there is a need for better collaboration between various team members or departments for better product development. So what I'll be talking about now is how Siemens and its solutions can actually help you address some of these trends. So the first trend I would like to talk to you about is about the customized products. Now, this is where I would just like to talk to you about the Siemens products that we have. So I'm sure that all of us are aware that how quickly you can get a product to the market is actually the key for success for all our organizations, right? And this time limit is something which puts a lot of pressures on designers, especially on engineers, to implement this required customizations quickly, right? Another point is that these designers, they need to make use of some CAD models which may not have been created in the same CAD software, or they might have to import some models which have been created from other CAD softwares, right? So making changes to these models which are coming from a different CAD software, I'm sure most of the designers will agree, it becomes very, very tricky and very, very time consuming. So this is exactly where synchronous technology, which is a patented technology which has been developed by Siemens, can really help designers out. Now, with synchronous technology, what you can do is you can work on the designs which have not only been created within the Siemens ecosystem, that is by SolidEdge and NX, but you can also work on designs or models which have been created on other CAD platforms as well. So, for example, if you're working on Creo, you're working on SolidWorks, you can still import it inside our solutions and make the required changes to the design quickly as and when required. This is the biggest advantage that we provide to the customers, and that is the flexibility. Now, as far as the customization is concerned, let's say, for example, over here on the left-hand side, we have a jack, right? That is a version A. Now, like I said, customers are looking for customized products for themselves, right? So now there's another customer who comes and says, you know what, I need a jack with a similar capability, but I want the design to be a little bit different. So basically, on the left-hand side, you have version A. On the right-hand side, we have version B. Now, let's say from a designer's perspective, you have already created a version A. Now you have to create a version B, right? So how much time will you take? Now, just from a designer's perspective, it might probably take you, half a day, 1 day or something, right? But with the use of synchronous technology, what we can do is we can create this second version from the existing first version in the matter of just 2 minutes, right? That sounds very hard to believe, right? So I have a small video which I can showcase, which will help you just to showcase how this second version was created from the first version in the first version in a matter of just minutes. So this is the power of synchronous technology that we provide to all our designers, right? So with the help of synchronous technology, you can make rapid changes to your existing design like you see over here, right? And the best part about synchronous technology is we are not making any changes to your constraints of your assemblies or any design changes to your sketches or anything of the sort. No, all the constraints and relationships that you've given are maintained over here. We are working directly on the 3D model itself. We are not even going into the sketches or making changes to the sketches and all. No, we are making directly on the models. And again, the best part, like I mentioned at the starting of this session, is with the help of synchronous technology, it doesn't make a difference whether you're working on solutions like NX or SolidEdge, or even some other CAD software. You can still make the rapid changes like this. So this is what synchronous technology can help you, in achieving the customized product. So you can see within a matter of just 2 minutes, you are able to get a second version designed completely, right? So this is the kind of advantages that we have. Now, the second trend that we wanted to talk to you about, like I mentioned, is, as the complexity is increasing, that the customers are moving or choosing more and more electrical content, right? So, like I mentioned before, over the last 4-5 years, we have come across a lot of new technologies like IoT or smart connected homes, smart offices, and whatnot, right? And the underlying component behind all these technologies is nothing but electromechanical products, right? And this is what we see that a lot of new manufacturers are getting into. So again, over here as well, recently we had conducted a survey with these electromechanical product manufacturers. And during this survey, we found that they face mostly two challenges. The first one is that most of these companies have two separate departments, that is the electrical design department and the mechanical department. And both these departments hardly interact with each other during the design process. It is only when the design is finalized and when it goes for production or when the prototype is being built that these two departments start communicating. And this lack of collaboration initially during the design process, this leads to errors on the shop floor. And sometimes these errors, end up costing a lot. And this eventually affects your product's release to the market as well. Another challenge that we saw is that in order to check whether the electrical circuits that have been created by the electrical engineer, whether they are working according to the logic provided by them is or not, these companies have to create or invest in prototypes. And as you're aware, prototypes cost money and time, right? So this is where I would like to bring in the new solution that we have come up with, Solid Edge, which we call it as electrical design. Now, this electrical design basically is into two parts. First one is the electrical design, which is meant for electrical engineers. And also we have a mechanical aspect of the same as well. So in terms of electrical design, we have two modules. The first one is wiring design, and second one is harness design. Wiring design is basically a module which is aimed at electrical designers who want to create their electrical circuits from scratch. The good thing about wiring design is not only can you create your single-phase electrical circuits, but you can create your three-phase circuits from scratch as well. We have an intelligent library which is available inside this solution. So no longer do the engineers need to go on the net and search for a particular component and drag it and place it inside the design. No, most of these components are already available inside the dataset. You just need to go and search for it, choose the component that you require, and start creating your designs. But the best part about wiring design is, these electrical designers will be able to validate and simulate their designs within the solution itself. Like I mentioned before, one of the challenges that we saw with the customers is like, in order to check whether the electrical circuit logic that is electrical designers have provided, whether it's working the way it's supposed to work or not, they normally create a prototype, right? But you can eliminate the need for this prototype with the help of our wiring design, in which the electrical designers will be able to completely analyze whether there's any voltage drops within any two particular components, or whether there is any short circuit happening, or whether there is any open circuits or something of the sort. So this is something which is possible inside wiring design. Now, once your design is done or once your wiring is done, then you need to manufacture it, right? So in order to manufacture it, you need most of the manufacturing shop floor is required 1:1 scale harness design. So for this, we have another solution that we created, which we call it as a harness design. Now, this harness design helps the manufacturing people to generate the complete bill of material which is required for creating the harnesses, along with the exact placements of the components like your terminals, your grippins, or your slices, and all these things as well. Now, you might come and ask me, this is something which is similar to some of the electrical solutions available in the market as well. So what is so special about this solution? Well, what is so special about this solution is what we call it as a connected mode. Now, like I mentioned before, in most of the companies, we see that there's a disconnect between the electrical department and the mechanical department, right? These two hardly interact with each other. So in case any department makes any changes to the design, the other department is completely unaware of it. And they only find out that the changes have been made only at the end or of the, only when they go for manufacturing, right? So this is something which can be eliminated altogether with the help of our connected mode. So with the connected mode, what we can do is anytime a mechanical designer makes any changes to the design, that change will be highlighted to an electrical designer. The same thing happens vice versa as well. So in case a electrical designer runs his analysis and finds that he needs to make some changes to his wires, or the size of the wires, or he needs to make some changes to components, he can make those changes to the components, and automatically those changes will be implemented inside the mechanical designer's design as well. So this way, both the designers are completely aware of what the changes are being done, And so the chances of errors happening are reduced significantly as well. So another trend that I wanted to talk to you about is, like I mentioned, the manufacturers are always under pressure to bring in optimized products, and that too, they have to ensure that the performance and reliability is maintained, right? So to address this trend, this is where our integrated solutions or simulation or analysis solutions really help out. Not only to reduce the product's time to market, but also while maintaining the reliability of those products as well. Now, after our discussion with some of our manufacturers, one assumption that we've seen or that we come across is that most of these organizations think that these analysis solutions are very difficult to use. And to use this particular solutions, they would need to hire somebody with a master's degree or even a PhD, right? And that's why most of the SMBs think that it would be better, in fact, to outsource this analysis process to a consultant. But now the problem is when you outsource your designs, then you're totally dependent upon the consultant's time schedule for the delivery, right? Now, this delivery of the results might actually end up taking days, or sometimes in some cases, we have seen that these results actually require months, right? And this plays a big role in the product's launch to market. And the best part of our solutions is that, the solutions are like this, solutions are very, very easy to use. So basically, you don't need somebody with a master's degree or anybody to work on these solutions. Your designers with basic knowledge of mechanical engineering, they will be able to work on this easily, right? Now, we understand that, the designers are actually the ones who have designed the product. So of course, they're pretty much aware of where all the forces will be acting. They are very much aware of where all the constraints have to be given. So what we have done is we have made a simulation model so easy that designers themselves can validate these designs, and that's why we call it more of a validation tool as against an analysis tool. Now, again, another unique thing about solid simulation is that it is powered by NX Nastran solver, which is, again, I'm sure most of you know, is a renowned and universally accepted solver as well, right? And this has been created by NASA itself. So the point is, so whatever simulation that you go for, you can be rest assured that the results that you get are going to be pretty accurate over here. And again, with simulation, we still have the powerful synchronous technology embedded in the CAD, right? This can help you implement any changes that will be required while performing the analysis. Now, this takes care of the FEA aspect. But what about the CFD or the computational domain, right? Computational fluid domain dynamics. So for this type of analysis, we have the best-in-class solution, which is called FlowEFT. We call FlowEFT a general purpose CFD solution, right? Because the same CFD solution can be used across multiple domains. So if you're working from automotive, if you're working on aeronautics, if you're working on electrical solutions, the same solution can be used as well. Now, as far as the capabilities are concerned, these are some of the capabilities of the solution that we wanted to showcase. We provide a complete support for electronics cooling, which includes Joule heating as well. Other capabilities of the solution include aerodynamics and even condensation, something which is very useful for somebody who's working on, let's say, automotive lighting, right? Now, suppose you're working with rotating equipments like compressors, right? And then for these people, I'm sure they know that, when you're working on simulation, one of the most important aspects is we want to find out where the vortex formations are, right? And now this is something which you can easily find out with the help of our solution, that is the FlowEFT. And in case if you're working on HVAC, again, if you want to find out what is the optimum position to place the required vents, then FlowEFT is the same solution, can help you out over here as well. With Solid Edge FlowEFT, we also provide customers who are working in LEDs with an advanced LED module as well. So Solid Edge, as I mentioned, has a complete plethora of analysis solutions to cater to each and every type of analysis that any SMB might actually require. Now, having a look at the digitalization manufacturing, I'm sure a lot of you must be aware that people are going for digitalization when it comes to manufacturing. Right, gone are the days when the programmers had to actually go and program their CNC machines manually. Right, so this is again where Siemens can actually help you out. I'm sure, as all of you are aware, that Siemens has a very rich history in manufacturing. Right, so what we have done is we have taken the advantage and the same expertise that we have, and we are able to leverage it with our CAM solutions, right? So we have a solution which is called SolidEdge CAM Pro, which basically provides a wide range of functionality from milling and high-speed machining to turning operations as well. So in case if you're working on any 2-axis, 3-axis, multi-axis, high-speed machining, or even turning operations, we have it completely covered with a range of the CAM solutions that we have. Now, this flexibility is something which enables our NC programmers to effectively program any job with different requirements using one system. And as I mentioned before, one of the most important aspects of our CAM solution is a tight integration with our CAD solutions. So what this effectively means for a designer and a manufacturing engineer is that our CAM remains associated to any changes that you make inside the CAD model. So in case you make any changes, your toolpath generation will change automatically as well, right? So another solution that we have with regards to manufacturing, especially for our sheet metal manufacturers, is called SolidEdge 2D nesting. This is something that we have just recently come up with. Now, I'm sure that somebody who's working on sheet metal, they know that one way of reducing the wastage of material is by reducing the scrap that normally gets generated on the shop floor, right? Now, for this, SolidEdge nesting is something which should definitely help you. This SolidEdge nesting will help you in generating the optimized layouts from two-dimensional cutting and the fabrication material, which not only works on sheet metal, but then if you're working on, let's say you're working on wood or plastic or even fabrics as well, then this solution can be used by you over here as well. Now, the advantage of SolidEdge nesting is that not only can we import SolidEdge files directly, but we can work with the existing DWG and DXF files as well. So in case if you worked on some any other solutions and you have already saved your DXF or DWG files, you'll be able to import that inside the same solution, and you will be able to create your complete nesting as well. The beauty of a SolidEdge nesting is that it uses a very efficient algorithm, which not only can nest multiple sheets of same or different sizes, but the best part is it can nest inside openings as well. And this specific algorithm helps you in increasing the complete sheet usage and reducing the amount of scrap. So this is just to give you an example, of how SolidEdge manufacturing tools can actually help you in terms of manufacturing. And the last solution that I wanted to talk to you about is, like I mentioned, there's a increased demand for collaboration between internal teams for better product development, right? So this is where we would like to bring in our latest offering. This is something completely new, which is called Teamcenter Share. Now, Teamcenter Share is basically all about collaboration, and especially in the current pandemic, where customers have different teams and team members working from different parts of the country, right? So with the help of Teamcenter Share, you can collaborate using a shared network drive, but without the need of setting up, sorry. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Yes, you're audible.
Yes, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. So basically what we were saying was the Teamcenter Share, you can synchronize your files, to the complete cloud storage while you work. And this is the best part about this particular solution. Now, in case, in case you're working on a CAD that you already have, right, and you want to share it across with the customers, then you can share it across with the customers, by which they can also view and measure and mark up any CAD file on your device as well. Now, another advantage that we have over here is we have complete security to share your projects with anyone you like. So basically, if you want to share if you want to share it with only a certain set of people, you have complete control over that as well. Another best part about Teamcenter Share is we can actually review designs in augmented reality on phones and tablets as well. So basically, what can Teamcenter Share help you with? Well, let's say, for example, you want to communicate, more efficiently. Let's say, for example, you want to communicate with your colleagues, right? So instead of going on a laptop or showing those particular designs that you created, you can just grab your tablet or your mobile, and using the simplified 3D interface that is available inside Teamcenter Share, you can easily, point out, how the components are assembled and all these things as well. Let's say you want to collaborate with your colleagues, right? And but they are, like I said, they're working from home. They are in different locations of the city or even the state for the matter. So this is again a beautiful solution which can actually help you collaborate with them, right? Now, the best part about this particular solution is you don't need to have any network infrastructure, or neither do you have any need for any VPNs as well. Another unique thing about SolidEdge Teamcenter Share is basically you can view any file, any CAD file. Now, I'm sure that, there are a lot of people who are working on different solutions, like it might be SolidWorks, it might be Inventor, or it might be even, Creo. So in case you want to use the solutions, if you want to, communicate your ideas across to your customers, you can still use this particular solution for, collaborating with other teammates as well. Now, prototypes, this is one of the most interesting part about Teamcenter Share, that is, prototypes in augmented reality or AR. Now, you can totally forget about, rendering a particular image just to understand how the product will look like. What you can do is with the help of AR, you can actually see it instantly right in front of you. And it's just not about aesthetics, it can actually help you in answering a lot of questions, like whether will it fit in the space available, or do we need to make any changes to a design, right? And this saves a lot of time, and especially for the installation crew, right? Another advantage that we have with Teamcenter Share is you can actually back up key projects to the secure cloud storage. So in case if you're working on a design on your computer and you want to take it back home, right, you can actually use Teamcenter Share for backing up the complete design to the storage. And then once you go back home, you can download it from the Teamcenter Share to continue working on it as well. This is probably one of the best parts when it comes to Teamcenter Share. So let's say, for example, you have, as a designer, you have created your particular design and you have given it for review. So now the reviewer doesn't need to have access to, let's say, SolidEdge or NX or any other CAD solution. He can directly open that link inside his mobile. He can actually review it. He can rotate his model. He can zoom into it. He can actually explore that model and all these things. And he can actually review it in minute detail as to whether this model is as per the requirement or not. And once he thinks that there are some changes to be made, he can easily create a markup over there, and he can store that markup and he can send it back to a designer. Now, all the designer needs to do is just needs to open it, and then he can easily view the comments that the reviewer has provided. And the best thing for most of our customers is to showcase. Now, instead of having to drag your heavy laptops and all these things to your customer meetings just to showcase what your model might look like, you can easily showcase the models inside your tablets, or even you can showcase inside your mobiles as well. So basically, this was just an example of what digitalization can, or rather how digitalization can help companies, or small and medium companies. Just to give you a small example, I have a reference case study which I wanted to talk to you about. And this company is called Renaissance Power Products, who actually started off the manufacturing small diesel engines. But then the best part about this company is like they identified opportunity, right? Now, as you're aware, small farms have absolutely no ability to mechanize. All the innovation that normally happens is actually meant for large farms and companies which develop equipments for large farms, right? Now, Mr. Raj Kumar Armugam, now what he did was he conceived a small configurable machine that farmers could use for the entire cycle of agricultural activity. That is, from helping in preparing the land to actually farming as well. So then the question is, how did he turn that into a successful product? Now, what the company did was they created a digital twin of the product, and then they utilized the digital twin in extensive marketing analysis and for customer validation as well. So with the help of this digital twin, they were able to actually create a photorealistic digital renderings. And this particular digital rendering actually allowed them to sell the products even before it was built. Now, thanks to digital twin, they not only realized that the products would work, but they actually realized that, what customers would want from it and what all changes they would require, so they can implement it accordingly, right? And thanks to digital transformation, they actually reignited the growth, and now it's actually a 50 to 100 employee international firm. So basically, this is just what what we wanted to showcase to you, how SolarEdge and solutions from Siemens can actually help SMBs to actually gain digitalization. And with that, I'm done with my presentation. So in case if you have any questions, please do let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Malwadkar, for that very interesting presentation, especially with the Siemens solutions that you presented us with and how the case study and how digitalization can help SMEs and other companies. So that was a very interesting presentation, I would say. And I would like to ask Mr. Jitkar to take over and ask you any questions if we have from our audience. Mr. Jitkar, over to you.
Yes, thanks, Nitin. I'm again repeating, your presentations are quite futuristic, but still easy to relate and very easy to understand. That's the best part of your presentation always.
Thank you.
So it's applicable in your today's presentation as well.
Thank you, Shagab.
Yeah. So my question is, like you mentioned about the like inefficiencies in electromechanical collaborations, which is leading to probably the errors and then reworking the projects and the delays in
Right.
development. So can you give some examples on that if it's possible?
I can give you one very public example. This I think it was the 380, the biggest jumbo that Airbus had created, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was Singapore Airlines had actually placed an order for the first, flight or the first jumbo. But then they had made, their public, they marketed all the campaigns that we will be the first one to, fly this particular plane on this particular date. But when the date came, the plane was not delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because when they're doing a complete manufacturing, where they were actually manufacturing this particular plane, they found that the harnesses that have come down, the actual manufactured harnesses that have come down are actually wrong, or actually the length of the harnesses were completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the mechanical designers had made some changes to this route or the path of those particular harnesses, and they forgot to update the electrical engineers. So that's why the harnesses were completely wrong. So this was one of the biggest, failures in terms of this, like I mentioned, collaboration between the electrical and the mechanical department. And this is available in public.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, in today's scenario where there is a social distancing and some people are working from home, some people are in factories. So it's very necessary to have a proper collaboration between different departments as well as with the suppliers.
Absolutely. See, what happens in most of the cases is, like, if you have an electrical department, electrical engineer and a mechanical engineer, what happens is they use different jargons altogether, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it becomes very difficult for a mechanical engineer to understand what the electrical engineer wants to say, and the same vice versa. So with this collaborative tool, right, or with this connected mode, like we call it, there's no need for you to tell each other what changes need to be done. You can directly get on the machine. If they are connected together, they can easily, if the electrical designer highlights any particular component, that component will get highlighted inside the mechanical CAD. And similarly, a mechanical designer highlights any particular wire, that particular wire will get highlighted inside electrical engineers electrical CAD software as well. So this way they can easily understand which wire or which component that needs to be changed, or anything of the sort.
Okay. As you mentioned, this collaboration with these new digital tools, the collaboration is also possible with the external suppliers as well as the customers. But what if they should have the equal kind of digital infrastructure at their end? So
absolutely not.
No,
that's the best part about the Teamcenter Share that we want to talk to you about. See, the advantage of Teamcenter Share is, let's say, for example, you created a particular design and you want to give it to your vendor, whether just to check whether the vendor is able to manufacture this particular design or not. Now, that doesn't mean that the vendor needs to have the same software on the system. No. The beauty about Teamcenter Share is you saying everything is on the web. So you just send a link to that particular vendor. The vendor will click on that particular link. He'll open that website, And within the website, he will be able to completely rotate the product. He will be able to zoom into the product. Not only that, he'll be able to take section views of that particular product. He'll be able to measure certain dimensions of this of that particular product, and he will be able to create markups in that product as well. Everything is online. Everything is on the web, so you don't even need to have it on a system. You can do it on your tablets or your mobile as well.
That's the best and very interesting part.
Absolutely.
Okay, the next question is this is from Badrinath Shirur. Can we synchronize mechanical design and process design in heat exchangers with your synchronous technology?
I would like to know a little bit more about this, but then yes, we can do that. If you're talking about making design changes, or if you want to automate it altogether, we can do that as well inside Solid Edge.
Fine, that's great. So thanks again, Nitin, for having your presentation in today's conference. It was a pleasure having you here. Thank you.
Same here, Shekhar. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the second keynote address of the day by Ms. Rajeshri Rao, Head of AI Innovation Hub and Partnerships and Ecosystem APAC for R2 Data Labs Rolls-Royce on revolutionize the future of manufacturing through innovations. Ms. Rajeshri is a globally acclaimed industry thought leader, visionary, advisor, principal consultant, passionate technologist, and mentor in next-gen technologies. She's also an enthusiastic and fervent speaker and avid writer in the next-gen technologies, leadership, entrepreneurship, life lessons, motivation, and self. Ms. Rajeshri champions the open innovation and has developed two futuristic strategies called the Partnership Innovation Model for Rolls-Royce and the hybrid model of Innovation Hub or the Center of Excellence concept. Ms. Rao, over to you. Ms. Rao, you're on mute.
Sorry. Thank you so much for that warm welcome and a wonderful introduction. And thank you for this opportunity for having me for this session here. And very good afternoon to all the participants. Thank you for taking out the time to be with me today. I'm not going to present any slides because I know everybody gets onto a lot of slides, but I'm just going to talk through some of those key aspects on how do you leverage technology innovations for transforming the manufacturing processes, manufacturing itself, and how we are re-looking at manufacturing and how it's going to revolutionize in the new normal. Now, with that, I'll just take a very brief introduction. I'm going back to where did it all begin, right? I'm sure you all know the revolution it has, the industrial revolution, where it all began from the first revolution, where it all started with mechanization, water power, steam power. Then the second industrial revolution happened, which gave birth to the mass production, assembly line, and the advancements in electricity. And the third revolution was all about the introduction of computer and automation. And in the fourth revolution, and even before the fourth revolution, the cyber physical systems had just kick-started. But in the fourth industrial revolution, which is also known as the Industry 4.0, we actually begin with the cyber physical systems, and automation had just been catching up. And today we are in that, the curve. It's at the point where we will be moving from that fourth, that is the Industry 4.0 to Industry 5.0. But what is in Industry 5.0? It is all about mass customization and it's about cyber physical cognitive systems. So that is where we are evolving. So that was just a slight background to know where we are today at. And with the current times, the pandemic has definitely disrupted the entire, literally all industries. I wouldn't say just manufacturing, but pretty much a lot of industries have been disrupted. But that also means it has given us an avenue and, like a wake-up call for us to do something different, for us to address some of the burning challenges which we have not been looking into. And so I would consider this as an opportunity for how we transform the way we look at different aspects. And one of the other important aspects itself is supply chain. But before that, let me address some of the key challenges that has been existing within the manufacturing world. So what is today causing the industrial changes in the manufacturing sector? Let's look at that, right? One is excessive global competition. So everybody's facing a huge competition because of the kind of mass production we have, and it's the sourcing is not just happening like, example, we're not looking just made in India, but we import a lot of stuff. So there's a lot huge global competition. And the next is the dearth of required energy. And today, one of the big challenge is the amount of energy we do require to run some of these, the plants and too many other things. Okay, no matter what you're manufacturing, you do need energy. So that's a huge concern, because that's also comes up, that plays a huge part in terms of the environment, sustainability, and the renewable energy. I'll come to that bit. And the next aspect is lack of skilled labor. Lack of skilled labor, why? Because I wouldn't say there's a dearth to resources or the labors, but it's about lack of skilled labor. We need certain experts, we need certain people with certain skills, and finding the right skill is a challenge in the current times, because you can't retain the talent in that capacity, or people want to find better opportunities. There are a lot of reasons, and that has been a constant challenge to address. And most important, one of the key challenge is the complex supply chain that exists. And how do you tackle that? That's again a huge concern. And the next aspect is intricate global sourcing environment. So that's also huge. How do you source? And I think I'm going to pick up a very interesting use case to address the three aspects. One is the complex supply chain, the aspect of how do you intricate global sourcing environment, and most important about the energy bit, which is something we really need to understand. And increased focus on customization. Today, the amount of consumption has gone through the roof. We all want it. One is at low cost and better quality, and still, and we want to buy more and more. In the sense, the purchasing power has gone through the roof, and so is also the consumption. So everybody's demanding customization, like I need it in this way, I need it in that way. So if you imagine, you go to the market, whatever the product in whatever capacity it is available today because of where we are, but that has led to a lot of downside of how things have been going, which we are not aware of because we've never shown that picture at all. And the next important aspect is decreased the decrease in the batch which runs among small manufacturers, which ultimately reduces the lift out for manufacturers. So the small time manufacturers are facing a huge challenge from the big guys, so they are not able to sustain at all. We say SMEs, but SMEs again, small medium enterprises, the manufacturers within that segment are definitely unable to survive itself. And then what are we doing? We're putting pressure on the reconfiguration of the software as well. So technology, how do you reconfigure? It's not about the existing legacy system, but you have to adapt to the modern technology, the modern methodologies, and that means it's a huge capex cost. But how do we avoid the capex? What can be done, and how do you then innovate? That's the question that comes about. And to overcome these challenges, manufacturing sector needs to adopt the new innovative technologies, and that is exactly what I will be talking about. And before that, let me address another most important thing, and that is about what is manufacturing technology. So it is a term that can refer to a number of modern methods of science, production, and engineering that assist in the industrial production and various manufacturing processes. So today that's the term, because manufacturing technology is something I'm sure everybody knows here. I'm just reiterating what is it comprised of. And then there are different types of the manufacturing technologies which has given birth from the automation and definitely the industry 4.0 revolution itself. Okay. And so what are they, right? Industry 4.0, the name given to the fourth industrial revolution, which is associated with automation, data exchange, then digital technologies like definitely AI, machine learning, deep learning, IoT. It's playing a huge role today in the way how our manufacturing system, the innovation is happening within the manufacturing verticals itself. And so therefore a lot of manufacturing technologies are innovating production, and industry also are and innovating productions and industries that are relevant to this fourth way of technology and technological advancement. So example again I will give, if you take Amazon, the entire logistics, the back end or the warehouse, how they operate has been automated. Everything is done through the robotics, and that is where the cyber physical cognitive systems come into existence, and today they are playing a huge role. But are we saying that they're going to be replacing the human existence? Not at all. It's only automating. Most important, see, some of this technology is not taking away the jobs, and this is something I do want to make it very clear, because that's another misconception that we have. What it is doing is we are automating things and processes that is mundane, and which can be done by machines very easily and productively. Because today the businesses are looking at three important things. One is increase in the productivity and efficiency, and number two is reduction in the cost, and number three is to bring value and impact to the business. And in order to achieve these, they are automating processes, things that can be done by the machines, and other jobs which requires a human intelligence, and that is what they want to rechannel and work around allocating the resources in the right direction and for the right job. That is what the system is doing. But obviously we are not seeing that happening in that capacity, but that is the transformation that is happening while even as I speak as well, and which I'm experiencing. Like every organization today is working towards this transformation. So now I'll speak about innovation. So how are we going to innovate, right? So one of the most important aspects that I champion is about open innovation partnership model. And I'll tell you why this is extremely important. Today, we don't have the luxury of time to try to, do everything from scratch. So what we need to do is we have to leverage already that is existing in the market, and then come together. You partner with somebody who has already done that. They have a solution, they have a technology. You need to collaborate with them and do the co-creation and co-innovation, and so that you can address the business challenges, which is a quick and a fast turnaround time. And because we don't have the luxury of time, everybody today wants ROI. The company is all evolving to ensure that how do they bring the value to the business or have the impact to the business. That is what everybody's asking. So what is the advantage of this model of innovation? One is you co-innovate and you co-create. You're not reinventing the wheel. Next is it also has minimum capex. You don't have to invest a lot in trying to come up with a very phenomenal solution, which means a capital intensive. That's not going to happen. That's going to be taken care of because you're doing it jointly, and you're leveraging the existing framework, the technology that's already been developed. You don't even have to go and do anything from scratch. And most important, you will then find the right solution to address the business problems, and which is for your industry specific requirements. And also what happens is, and that solution is not just your business problem, which is also scalable at industry at large. That means if it is a problem for your business, definitely it's a problem for the industry at large. Then you can scale, and through that you can also get an ROI by taking that solution to the market. And most important, we are no longer the just-in-time model. We are now moving from just-in-time to just-in-case. So we need to be always prepared to keep continuing in the dynamic world. How are we going to innovate? So don't ever sit and think, oh, we are planning and we are going to come with a short-term, long-term goal. No, it's no more the near-term, short-term. It is about very futuristic. I always tell, like you need to understand the fundamental definition of who is an innovator. See, an innovator itself is a visionary, and also the word innovation means you're renewing. It's not something, you're not inventing, you're actually renewing. And when you renew, you're coming up with something that you keep on advancing towards a future. Now the future, which is not just like 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, the future which is beyond your lifespan. So you need to be able to vision or envision something that you can create, even which can exist even after, I would say, beyond your lifespan. That is the kind of that's the forward thinking you need to have today. And most important, again, business agility. It also provides you to being agile and operating in an agile environment, which every organization are slowly adapting to. And then also it addresses data sparsity because we're all trying to get the data, and why do we need data? Because we want to also ensure that we have this preventive maintenance, predictive analytics in place, so that if there is something going to come about, this technology will prevent, rather we can then take a proactive measures. And then most important is, and sustainability is a very, very important element. And most important, now how do you get to sustainability? I'll come back to that. That's the use case I'm going to be talking about. And the last bit is supply chain visibility. Today we don't have this. We are all suffering. There's a huge issues within the supply chain world, and supply chain visibility is extremely important. So I have given you what does this open innovation partnership model look like, and what are the advantages, and why you need to champion this. And the next aspect is, now how do you look at innovating itself, right? So if you take it, every industry, right, we don't have to recreate, and that's what I said. So I talk about reconstructing and restructuring model of innovation. And what happens in this, see, today I'm sure every manufacturing organization or any organization, they have their legacy system, and I'm saying I want to do a co-creation or co-innovation, so let me bring someone from the external team. Now they come up and say, oh, whatever you have, no, it's not good, let me just, you should check that out and we'll develop something new, or I already have a solution and you can go implement it. That is not the way to look at the business. And that's a misconception. Again, everybody thinks they are trying to solve a business problem. And 90% of the time, people really don't understand what is a business problem and what is a challenge. What is a challenge statement? They have a very difficulty in understanding whether it's a problem or a challenge, because everybody thinks it's a problem, but you really need to do an in-depth analysis and understanding to find out what is the problem and what kind of problem it exists, and how do you work around the problem, and is the problem something needs a fix, or do you need to completely change that existing technology, infrastructure, solution, whatever that is there. So I keep talking about, it's about retrofitting. What does it mean? You don't have to remove your legacy system. Your legacy system is perfect because that's where you started. And what did I say? Innovation means you're renewing, which means you have to advance it along with retrofitting with the current times and keeping the future in the mind. So that is how you need to think about. And the next aspect is interoperable. See, whatever that you're doing, when you're bringing the best of both the worlds and you want to transform leveraging technology, whether you're doing a people innovation, process innovation, and take whatever that innovation that you're doing, defining a new process, coming up with new ways of improving your production. No matter what you do, your solution or whatever the platform you develop has to always be interoperable. And if it's not interoperable, then you're in trouble, because then I do not understand how the system can evolve. Okay. And the next aspect, no matter what you do, everything has to lead to scalable. You should be able to bring to a point where you're able to scale and address it at an industry at large level. And then most important, every innovation has to become inclusive. And again, the element of sustainability goes without without any questions. But today, the aspect of sustainability itself again is misconstrued because everything is so misleading. Okay. Now, next is, now, I've already defined the goal of innovation is, again, just reiterating, which is increasing productivity and efficiency, reduction in cost, and value and impact to the business. And don't forget these three elements, because every business today are looking at these three aspects. And now I'm going to touch upon the case study, the most important element. Now, I've given you how you could what are the aspects that you need to follow, how do you leverage technology and address innovating, and how you need to innovate. And one of the aspects also I'll talk about, I think IBM was doing a very interesting prototype with Maersk and in the supply chain space. So they use their the blockchain and the blockchain technology and coming up with a prototype to see how would they be able to track the supply chain overall, the end to end. And I'm not sure about where and how successful that project went on. But yes, at least the industry has started leveraging some of these kind of technologies, to be able to apply to the real-time problems and trying to solve them, so that they then can, solve at different industry verticals. And that is what they're doing. But I'm just giving an example. So they are trying to do, taking this technology and how can we innovate and addressing the burning problem that exists. And now most important aspect is when you are, because you're all from manufacturing industry, right? And I want to keep this very important, which I keep researching, and this is the case study that I would like to present today is, see, the aspect of sustainability is something that we need to look into. See, production doing a lot of things and saying, yeah, we have sustainable goals, we are ensuring zero carbon footprint, we are ensuring renewable energies, or and most important, trying to keep the environment intact. It's not happening. I'll give you the aspects of the case studies on the chips and the renewable energy. Now, if you look at one of the most dangerous things right now is the illusion that alternative technologies that everybody's talking, like wind and solar power. But have you really gone and looked into what does it take to get this alternative technology? I'm also was researching because I was saying, if I need to have a solar, like, okay, we say, no, let's use a solar energy. Then what do we do? Okay, alternative technology. Can I implement it? So how much am I going to save on electricity? Can I give back to the world? See, in small capacity, I feel, it's very funny, but that's a reality. I don't use AC at all because I feel in some way I don't have to I want to save electricity. I want to save energy. So why do I need to use, air condition and waste so much of energy? So let me just use fan. But that's in my capacity. I feel I want to do something, but that doesn't impact the world. Okay. But it's somewhere like, to me, my conscious, oh yes, I'm doing something. That's all. But to make a larger impact, we need to understand the truth behind what is happening in the world. Now, so this, the illusions is talking about, like wind, solar are different from fossil fuels. That's the illusion we are living. So everyone believes the solar cells are made of sand, but have you really gone and studied about it? The main ingredient that makes makes them work is the silicon or sand, whatever you want to call it. But this is just a raw materials that is used in this. Chips are made of sand. That's what we say. But in fact, they actually don't use sand. You should actually go and study the research that goes on and what is actually making those silicon. It's not made through sand at all. That's the misconception that we have. The main ingredient is actually quartz. And you have to mine quartz. Again, what is it coming? Where is it coming? Natural resources. And how does it get done? So you have to bring the quartz, the high quality quartz, and melt along with coal. And at 1800 degrees temperature. And then comes what is called the high quality quartz, which is used in the chips. So every semiconductor, solar, and other communication applications uses this chip, which is in high demand today.
I'm really sorry to interrupt you. It's just that we are running short on time. So could you wrap it up in 1 minute?
I'm sorry, you need to give me 5 minutes because I'm just closing on this quick.
So because we're really short on time,
Sure.
because we have the next schedule lined up.
Done. Thank you. So sorry about that, but I'll quickly wrap up. So the point is that the reason why sand cannot be used in this production is because it's got impurities. So the quartz is melted with coal in a large, that's what I said, in a large furnace at 1800 degree Celsius, the temperature, and then along with that is what they produce. It's called the silicon, the metal. And then the carbon dioxide goes off and you are left with silicon metal. And this is not a clean coal. Now, where is the question of renewable energy? And imagine these are the chips that is used back in getting the solar power. And how much can the solar power, and how do you produce that energy? It's only when you have sun or when you have say the windmills, right? So when there is a wind, and if you take an example, recently I was doing again study. I was going back to all these mobility companies, right, who are talking about EV vehicles, and we say, where are their energy coming? They talk about renewable energy, and they're all connected to grids. And where is it coming from? Oh my God! So it all goes back in the coal production. So where is that we are in the green environment? Where is the clean energy? So when you do any kind of manufacturing, please go to the source and understand that you are creating a sustainable environment and finding out alternatives to avoid these kind of illusions that we live in. And imagine today the amount of chips that we are using in every phone, every computer, every solar, the wind panels, everything, because we are monitoring, there are all chips everywhere. So what are we living with? The coal. So where is going to be green environment? So with that, I stop this session and I leave open to the questions. I am sure we've run out of time. I'm sorry I couldn't cover a little more, but nevertheless, you can always reach out to me and I'll be very happy to answer questions. But unless we have few minutes to answer, take a couple of questions, we'll be extremely happy to. Over to the organizers.
Thank you, Ms. Rao. That was actually a very interesting address, especially the part where you said that it's not just in time, it's just in case. So that was a very great term that you used. So we'll be taking questions after the event, so that if you have any questions for Ms. Rao, you can send them to us, and then we will have them given to Ms. Rao, and she will answer them for you. Or you can put them in the Q&A section over there, in the Q&A box over there. So that we'll be moving on to the next session now.
Really, just 1 second. I will just have one question for Rajashree.
Okay, sure.
So Rajashree, you just mentioned about the innovation, but what does really innovation carry a meaning in terms of this pandemic situation, and even when we decide about going out of the pandemic, exiting the pandemic situation? So what does this innovation really would be defined as, and what would be the typical innovation strategies in this kind of period?
Amazing question. I really love. Thank you for that question. To be very honest, if you take transportation industry, or you take some of the very interesting retail world and many others, nobody could understand how innovation could ever. Sorry, how pandemic. They never expected pandemic. Nobody ever imagined that this is the world we will enter into, and it definitely disrupted. If you take travel, you take hospitality, you take hotel business, you take restaurants, everything has come to a standstill. So what is the future like, right? Even the culture of workforce. Today, we are evolving into a hybrid model. What does it mean? What is it giving a message that we all have to transform to come up with something which is going to be adaptable, dynamic, and something very new? Now, an example is today we have a lot of office buildings. Everything is empty. We no longer can be part of it. An example today, I might be sitting at home, but I'm still able to address the audience here. Why? Because we have come up with a new way. This is innovative way. So it's nothing new, but we've just found a solution in innovation in a different capacity. So today we found an alternative of coming up with amazing platforms have come up on which we can organize sessions like this and continue the same momentum. And we are not losing that touch. The next aspect, if you take today transportation itself, earlier the whole environment has been filled with few, the kind of pollution. We are living in a very hazardous environment, and today not using the vehicle example. So today if I alternate, like, okay, I'll go 2 days to work, 3 days I can work from home, hybrid model. Am I not reducing that much of carbon footprint? Of course, yes. And at the same time, am I not be able to be productive as well? So I'm able to be balance between work and home as well. So again, we keep traveling a lot. It's this again, the carbon footprint in the air, the whole ecosystem is become hazardous. What is the future going to be? So can I not travel to conferences? Can we have, say, in a hybrid model in the future? Today we can have so many number of sessions in online, and only the major conference, we can say quarterly one conference where you can go face to face. So that way we are saving the environment. And this is some of the examples that I give, how you have to rethink the future itself through innovative ways.
That's great. That was very practical, and people are already experiencing those kind of cases today. Great. Thanks, Rajashree. It was great having you, and thanks for your very practical insights on the innovation aspects as well as the modern technology aspects for the revival of manufacturing operations. So it was pleasure having you again. Thank you very much.
Shekhar, thank you so much, and thanks to all. Please take the questions. I would definitely
Sure.
like to address all the questions. I see some of the comments. There are
Yes,
some
yes,
questions,
definitely.
but
We
definitely
will
we'll
do
go
that.
back. Please ask, send them to me with the contact details. We'll definitely go
Yes,
back
yes,
to
definitely. We will do that.
the audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Jutka. Thank you, Ms. Rao. We will definitely have the questions sent to you because it was a very interesting address, I have to agree. So, ladies and gentlemen, moving on. It's now time for our second technology presentation by Mr. Sahir Patel, Portfolio Development Leader, Siemens Industry Software. So, Mr. Patel, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Please let me know, are you able to hear?
Yes, you're audible.
Perfect. Okay.
So here we are at the conclusion of our main stage program, but your journey still has exciting.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Can you just confirm the slide deck is visible? No, someone confirm?
Yes, sir. The screen is visible. Yes. Next normal manufacturing. Yes.
Perfect, perfect. My name is Sahir Patel. I'm the portfolio leader for product lifecycle management solutions for India as well as some Asia Pacific subcontinent countries. With Siemens for more than 10 years and in this industry more than 19 years now. Today, this topic is very, everyone is talking about, and the need of the hour is now, what is the next norm of manufacturing, which most of the companies are already started adopting. I'm talking because I have done like the presentation, which I'll be giving next 20 minutes, will be very simplified, very focused on these key industries from India. So the solution or the companies, what they are doing in terms of digitalization to ensure they have the normal manufacturing continue in this new pandemic, in this ongoing pandemic. So we'll focus on this industry. The topic will be more focused on these industries. Now, as you know, like as a manufacturer organization, we have continuous pressure. The pressure because of the market uncertainties, the pressure because of the ongoing improvement initiatives. We are working on Kaizen, we are working on FIRES, and there are so many cost saving initiatives are going on. Also, the customer satisfaction initiatives going on in the organization. So that definitely puts some pressure on our manufacturing organization. Again, the widespread global operation. There are no companies who are now operating locally or only for the country. The companies have grown, they have started operating in Europe, North America, South America, and they are spreading everywhere. And the quality is also very much important. So they need, whatever they are manufacturing, quality should be everywhere same. And the last but not the least, the rapidly growing portfolios. So kind of a transformation happening in the industry, like, one example maybe like from IC engine to EVs, a tremendous kind of a transformation happening. And so the companies who are supplying to those automotive industry need to diversify their portfolio. They need to go into the batteries, they need to go to the electric transmissions, so that there are new product line the companies need to add continuously. I'm just given one example of the EV, but there are so many examples in the manufacturing sector which is happening. So, and on top of this, the challenge is already there, but on top of the biggest challenge which we are seeing at this moment is this ongoing pandemic, where employee safety is out. All the organizations are putting employee safety on the topmost priority. How we can make them feel protected, how we can monitor their workforce. Resuming or continuing the production in this time where the lockdowns are going on and all those challenges going on. How we can rearrange the production floor, shop, employee distancing, how we can manage proper social distancing maintained. How we'll make sure that there's a minimum impact on our productivity because of this thing. And how we should be able to prepare for the wave 4, wave 5 coming, or there are so many other challenges which we are foreseeing in future. And that's the reason where companies are now thinking about, or already started thinking, how I can address this COVID-19 recovery. How I can quickly take help of the digitalization with my limited capex without much investment. How I can do that in an OPEX model. And what are the digital tools available to ensure my safety and production improvement will happen. So that is where this companies have started thinking. Most of them have started adopting the solutions. Now, what is happening here as an industry expert, what my view or what we think from a Siemens perspective is that there are 3 phases in any organization. This is ideation, where actually we design any product. Basically, we decide we ideate basically with the help of CAD tools. We simulate them also with the help of CAE tools. Then the second thing comes is the realization, where actually we manufacture those products, those machines in our factories. And the third, not the least, where actually when we sell this product to our customers, we also keep tracking those products with the help of IoT tools to ensure that the customer should not face any challenges while using it. And also we will be able to give them customer a proactive alert to ensure there will be no breakdowns, and we can take care of the things which will kind of do a proactive maintenance of our products also. So these are the 3 areas from our manufacturing point of view we are working on, and these are the 3 organizations also inside any manufacturing organization are working. So it's a time now to come them together, come them very close, do the collaboration. That is the need of the hour. And how this is happening, which we'll discuss in the next few slides. Before that, I would like to bring to your attention, again, I'm taking one simple use case study or use case to address. A typical challenge in any Indian manufacturing organization is, if you can relate to it, where is my drawing, where is my document, what is the status of project? This is the one question we always come to our mind when we are working with the team or working inside the organization. And here we take a lot of time to decide or think or get that data, get that information, because we are not sure. We are completely dependent on the manual processes or human interactions. And we always need to take our superior or our managers kind of view or feedback on doing any things, like, or orders, basically, what I need to do work, or which are the areas I need to work next. That is somewhere I need to completely depend on my subordinates. Now, why this is happening? We have to go back to the root cause of this issue. This issue has been now popped up or highlighted back by the COVID thing, but we have to, this is the issue is issue which is there in the system for so long. So typical any product or any company who makes products, their development process starts with the sales and marketing, because unless there is a market, we don't make the product. All the companies make or launch product in the market, and after understanding there is a definite need in the market. There are customers who are going to buy this. So your sales marketing team come into picture first, followed by your engineering design team, production engineering team, and then your tool room designers, quality, the tool room suppliers, and then again your suppliers, vendors, those all people come into picture. So this is where you first started, but now we continuously keep working with all these organizations. Now everyone in this organization or in this team have access to computers. So organization, what you have done is they're given access to computers. Now on their computers, there are so many softwares have been installed. So some people are working on the documentation, mostly like, let's say sales marketing work on Excel, PDF or Word document to collect the requirement and all. Engineering teams use the engineering tools, let's say a CAD software or a CAE software, maybe some are doing like a software programming. So they are using software programming languages. Your tool designers are working on various CAM programming tools as well as the CAD softwares. The quality team is working with the documentation. Your vendor team is working on something, mostly on the MS Office or PDF documentation. So everyone who has access to this computers, they are creating some form of data. The file of that extension of that file is different, but they are creating a data. And the end result of this is actually the production, what you are manufacturing in your factories. Now, if you see the left side of it, it's all about the intellectual property. So it's all the intellectual property which your organizations are creating, which is utilized, leveraged by the machines, the CNC machines, the robots, which has been placed in with the help of human who are operating them. But this is the intellectual property which is created inside your manufacturing team, by production engineering team, your design teams, your sales team, your quality, everyone is. And then the end result of this, whatever products you are manufacturing, this is the end result basically after. So traditionally, the challenge with the manufacturing organization in India is they are saving this kind of information, all this data in a folder structures. So there is sales document folder structure, there is an engineering document folder, and these folders may be in a central server, NAS server you are using somewhere. So when we studied the SME segment in India, we have realized this is the #1 root cause, or this is the #1 blocker for all those SMEs to collaborate. And specifically in during this COVID period from last year, it has popped up like anything. People were not able to collaborate with this kind of a file or data management systems. And again, this is prone to data breach, data hack, data leak. You must have heard a lot of things. The data corrupt ho gaya, that file has got corrupted. So this is where the biggest challenge lies with this. And it's like, using the Nokia 110 analog phone in today's smartphone era. So, like today, if you see, compared to this phone, the smartphone which all of us are using, this phone does not have any memory. It can only store 25 messages. It cannot store more than 100 contacts. No apps can be installed on top of that phone. So this is the situation, the companies who are using a traditional way of, or those companies who are not transformed to the digitally, those are the companies are like this. They are on the analog phone, on the Nokia phone. Now those companies who shifted or the digitally transformed, how they are doing it, we need to understand that. Unless we understand what they are leveraging, what advantage they are having, we will not able to aspire or will not able to think about it. So I'm giving you an example with our Siemens solutions when we are transforming these industries with the digital trade. These are the companies, again, the use case, I'm taking the same use case where our engineers are struggling in finding out the latest document, latest project status, latest drawing files. Here with this digital transformation, same engineers having those digital tools, they are able to find it in a single click, like on a Google. On a Google, you go in a search window, you type something you want to search, and in the next fraction of seconds, the results are reflected. Again, we are going to the next step, next stage of Google, where you will not able to only see the document or the part or CAD model you are searching, but you will be able to see his relationship, its complete family tree of that specific document or part you are searching. So it's SAP, like, if you are searching some part, its BOM structure, its current status, whether it's outsourced or you are doing in-house production, what is the SAP ERP number for that specific part, what is the EBOM placement. So all those details you will be able to understand in a single click. And if you are, let's say, if you are a shop floor supervisor, you will be able to understand this drawing has come to me now. And what does that mean? That it is release status. So that means I need to start my production based on this release drawing. So the shop floor guy did not have to rely or keep calling to the design R&D head or R&D manager when you are releasing the drawing, or can you give me the kind of a paper print of our drawing file. Usually it happens because I work in the shop floor and I used to wait outside the R&D's AC room for 2 hours to get that kind of a drawing released or drawing printed and plotted. And then I used to till that time production was stopped. So this is kind of a situation here. But with this advanced tools, digitally transformed industries are not waiting for anyone. They are closely connected. The R&Ds are connected with the manufacturing and the drawings are getting released in a fraction of a second. And the shop floor guys have only access to the latest released drawings, latest released 3D models. They cannot access anything which is in a design phase. That's the beauty of this. So right people have the right level of access at the right time in the right context. This is what giving the advantages to the industries who are digitally transformed. So what exactly we are needing in India, if we are working in a manufacturing organization, we need access from anywhere. We need to access our manufacturing information or manufacturing data from anywhere. Anywhere in the sense, if I have 4 factories, one in Chennai, other 2 are in Gurgaon, and one is in Pune, my shop floor guys should be able to access the shop floor related information, quality documents, the drawing details from that location on any device. He should not have a big system like, a highly configured system where the CAD is installed and all. There should not be need for that. He can be able to access on an Android tablet also, which is costing not more than 4,000 rupees without installing any app. Also, my shop floor manufacturing people need to be able to understand what they are accessing and able to quickly learn and work on it. So it should be highly intuitive. Basically, it is like no one has taught us how to order food on Zomato or Swiggy. We installed the app, automatically we learn. So this solution is similar to that, where our solutions are basically the users learn on their own. We have only 2 to 3 hours of training we provide, and then users are ready to use this solution. And last but not the least, which is adaptable to the organization processes. So basically, you can adapt to the organization processes. So this process basically it can integrate with your documents, the documents which you are using on the shop floor, the catalogs, manuals. These systems integrate with that. It's a very simple system, where you can open directly from the server of that system. You can also add 3D models. Like let's say I'm showing you example. Your R&D team members, before releasing a document to a quality department, they have added a 3D model of this same CAD inside the Microsoft Word. Now, this is something which your quality production team able to access without installing any CAD software. So that is the advantage of having the system integrated with the Microsoft Office and PDFs. Also, here I am showing you 3 people are doing a review together in this. At a single time, they are doing the review. One person is updating the document, rest 2 others are putting their comments. So that kind of a concurrent review. People are sitting from where some are working from home, some are sitting in the office, some are at the customer side. But one system brings them together to do the collaborative review. As we see in the Solid Edge thing, similarly, this inside the Solid Edge CAD models, the people, the designers will be able to access the entire their libraries directly from the Solid Edge. They are able to see the requirement document. They are able to do CAD modeling inside that. And it's, let's say, there are multi-CAD environments inside the organization. So some design which has been created in Solid Edge and some other design which is created in the SolidWorks. So still the SolidWorks designer can be able to access the Solid Edge design which is created in the Solid Edge and work on top of that by adding the geometry or taking as a reference. And vice versa is also true. So it's an open system, basically a system which can integrate with electrical CAD softwares, electronics CAD softwares, mechanical as well as documents. So all these world-leading software names I'm showing you just for your reference, because most of the companies use some of them. And the system which Siemens provide is integrated with all of this. So we are a very open integrated system. We don't interfere with the existing users, what they're doing. We just quickly integrate with those solutions, and the user don't see any challenge for them, because whatever they are going to do is they are continuing their work. Only thing changing from where they are accessing the data and from where they are saving it back. So that's the only difference happen. Now, this design, manufacturing, engineering, manufacturing, execution, and services. If you see, everyone are using their own systems. Manufacturing engineering use ERP, file systems, MES. Manufacturing, mostly manufacturing execution systems are there. And service lifecycle management, once your product is out, for support engineers are also using another system. And there are some homegrown systems developed by some coders inside your IT organization also are there. If you see a brick wall here, all these organizations are separated in a very high, tall wall, and they are not talking to each other. So the challenges which we have seen when we studied in this were like 59% of the customers have said they are not able to involve with the manufacturing as well as the customer service while designing the product. Also, almost 57% are saying they are not able to reuse knowledge. They are all the time doing reinvention. So that is kind of a challenge the customers are facing where there is a broken digital thread. So what we are doing as a Siemens, our solutions are bridging them, bridging the design department with your manufacturing engineering department, with your execution department and services. We are first connecting with them. We are sharing the right data with the right people. We are bringing all this team together so that all these members are having a kind of a loop. They work in a closed loop. And there is some feedback mechanism in place so that whenever some changes or some impacts are happening, immediately the dependents team will get aware and they will proactively work on the design changes or manufacturing changes or process changes. So this is where our solution is in place for the manufacturing organization, which broadly help in this area. I'm now focusing on a manufacturing point of view, like, your engineering BOM once get to MBOM, and then the as built for the service lifecycle management. So from your process planning to process validation, line designing, model-based quality, and manufacturing data and change management. This is a broader area we cover with our solution, which is primarily in, we talk as how to build it. Like, in design, we basically how to build, we work on how to build. These are the outcomes. From your manufacturing engineering teams, these are the outcomes which we get out through our digital solutions. Now,
manufacturing companies today are challenged with the need to adjust to a new normal and get their employees back to work. But the safety of their workers is paramount. How can you get your production lines back up and running, yet adhere to social distancing standards? Virtual simulation is the key. With Siemens Plant Simulation, you can model your current environment and analyze when any two workers come within a defined distance, and then flag that intersection with a red circle.
So I was just giving you example that, in a social distancing environment, you can simulate how your workers will work inside the factory. A proper social distancing, then the software will simulate and give you, because this is how you should plan your shifts. This is how you should plan your, the worker placements in the shop floor. Also, your shop floor team will be able to get the 3D power. So now what is happening? The 3D created inside the design rooms are not getting exposed to other departments. The reason because the 3D softwares are so costlier. Also, we cannot install them on a simple, on any tablets, or we cannot install them on any local desktops, which is low configuration. With this solution, a ready to read-only model of the 3Ds can be shared directly with the respective people, like some suppliers, manufacturers. Everyone can get access. They can do cross-sectioning, measurement, everything they can do on any small device or any screen, basically. This I'm showing you, which we have captured in one of the Android tablet, where the shop floor supervisor is taking cut section, doing the measurement without any help. Again, now, it's today's era, it's like a basically electronic work instruction, which you are talking about. Like we used to have instructions in assembly in terms of Word document. But the gone has the doors. Now no one reads the work instruction. The people want to see them. So with this, our solution, the CAD models we use, and your shop floor assembly team can be able to visualize how to assemble specific component or how to assemble specific assembly. There's a sequence of steps which is shown here in form of animation. And this is very easy to understand and very easy to play. So basically the new, like if someone joins as a company, a new joiner can be also able to work quickly in the assembly plant with this tool. Here I'm showing you an example where manufacturing basically happening, a sequence of steps have been highlighted on the screen itself. So someone we are talking about virtual reality, augmented reality, but with the virtual reality, some companies are asking to wear the glasses. Siemens being a manufacturing company, we don't push anyone to, no one can manufacture using the glasses. What we have done with our solution on the screen, the moment you follow the next step, automatically what will be the next step will get highlighted on the screen. That level of mixed reality we have created with our solution. This is a world-class solution because Siemens, coming from our manufacturing background, helps us tremendously understand what exactly operator can do on the ground, on the shop floor, and how we can help them. This is again one example we are seeing that the design reviews are happening across. So some of our companies like in HAL, where the Hindustan Aeronautics Laboratory, or companies like Mahindra, Maruti, Tata Motors, so they are doing design reviews with these solutions. Their teams are sitting in the different corners of the world and are able to do the design reviews by wearing those glasses, and complete entire assembly getting launched inside the VR glasses. So you can see this kind of a work which is realistically happening in India, and companies are taking advantage of this. So any feedback on the ground floor, on the shop, from the manufacturing is also directly given back to your design teams from here. The last but not least, basically your leadership wants reports. They want to understand what is my dashboard reports. So all these dashboards are also available inside, like how many change requests have come, what is the status of my project. So all those details can be viewed by your management and leadership team, and they can quickly understand the status of the work going on. So in short, the customers who have addressed this have reported substantial amount of improvement, which are reflecting here that the production flexibility has been improved, efficiency have been realized, and time to market, especially the Mahindra has reported that 25% reduction in the time to market. So with this, the solution I was talking was called as a Team Center. It's a world-class solution to manage your product and manage your production. So this is the solution now which is available, in the Indian market for last more than 25 years. There's a huge amount of customer base for this this solution. And this is one small concluding video on this. Okay, so in my day-to-day interaction with the customer, whenever we interact, what manufacturers are asking. First of all, they say, will you able to deliver what you say? Because you're showing us this thing. Will you able to do that? And the second question comes to any manufacturer's mind, that are you capable to deliver what you say? If both of these questions will get answered yes, then only manufacturers go with the, because this is where the trust lies. So Siemens as a company, we are very well placed to ensure that trust which you are going to put on us, we will deliver that, because we have the capability, we have the expertise, we have a broad customer base, and we have the investment done that. You will be surprised that across the globe, Siemens is the number in the top 10 software companies. We are in the Google and Microsoft. Those are the companies. We are in the top 10. The R&D expenditure we are doing is $5.6 billion, around 5.6 billion euros. In last 10 years, Siemens has invested $10 billion in acquiring various software companies or software solutions. We have almost 24,500 software developers, and we will be happy and proud that in India, we are like more than 6,000 people sitting in India for this team. The maximum development happened for more than 50% of development for this specific tool is happening in India from an Indian customer point of view. So in industrial software, we are number one in the market. And then there are some few more details like, the inventions are 7,400 and patents are 3,600. We are focusing on these key industries and how we have portfolio solution or consulting approach for all those specific solutions, for all those specific industries. So with this, I would like to conclude the session. But as I mentioned, it's a very open system, and do not hesitate to ask. There is a Tata Sky ad, "Poochne mein kya jata hai?" We have very cost-effective set of solutions available, which is quickly adoptable and quickly deliverable as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Thank you for that very interesting presentation, especially the part where you said that we need access and manufacturing data from anywhere. So thank you very much for the entire presentation, which is very interesting. So I would like to hand over to Mr. Jitkar now to ask you any questions that we have. Mr. Jitkar, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Sahir. It was great having you today in our conference. And as usual, your presentations were quite practical and relevant to the current scenario. You raised very valid and relevant questions and also provided the solutions for those questions too. So I would like to ask, there is this question, like you mentioned about the open integration system of Siemens, which can also work with the other systems like Dassault or Autodesk. So how do you handle this data compatibility part? Because many systems have this data security processes. So how is that done?
Yes. So first of all, thank you, Shikhar, for having me here in the session. It was an honor and pleasure to be part of the initiative which you are driving. On the question front, yes, the collaboration or the integration with various competitive solutions. What we are doing is like we have a dedicated development teams who work with these solution providers. Wherever required, we pay a royalty to those customers or those competition software companies to make sure their source code or their software code will be integrated with our software code. And that is how we are making sure that we will have a flawless integration with all these competitive companies with our solution.
Okay. There is one question from Maharajapu. How is this your system is different from SharePoint of Microsoft?
Sure. So SharePoint is prominently for managing your documents. This system is not only manage the document, it manages your project, it manages your engineering data. Engineering data is a very complex thing. No system can manage, where the engineering data management is like your BOM management. if I talk, give one example, a BOM management, a multi-CAD BOM management. So nowadays, a BOM can be of mechanical CAD, electronics CAD, electrical, as well as your software. So all those items together, only our solution can manage. And Microsoft SharePoint fails to do that. Like they are only limited to basically document management solution. So hope I answered that.
Okay, okay. Fine, that's it. Thanks for your participation, and over to you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the polls. We have 3 polls for you to vote on, and we'll be presenting each poll on the screen, and you will have 20 seconds to vote for each poll. So can we please have the first poll on screen? Yes. So the first poll says that engineering CAD, CAM, CAE, and document MS Office PDF files stored in folder structure are prone to. Your options are revision control issues, data corruption issues, data search issues, or all of the above. Your time starts now. All right, your time is up, ladies and gentlemen. Can we please have the results for the poll? So the maximum vote has gone to all of the above. They agree with everything. So that's 72%. Then it's data search issues, which is 15%. Then revision control issues, which is 10%. And the lowest vote has gone to data corruption issues, which is 3%. All right, thank you for voting for that. And we will now be moving to the next poll. Can we have the second poll on screen? Yes, so it says that Teamcenter provides collaboration platform for engineers working on mechanical CAD, electrical and electronics CAD software programming, quality, purchase, production engineering, shop floor supplier services, or all of the above. Your time starts now. All right, your time is up, ladies and gentlemen. Can we please have the result? Again, 73% has gone to all of the above, which is the maximum voting right now. And then 23% to mechanical CAD, electrical and electronics CAD software programming. And then there's a tie between quality, purchase, production engineering, and shop floor supplies and services, which is 2%. So thank you again. And we will now be heading on to the last poll. Can we please have that on our screens? Do you want to avail free trial for Teamcenter X? Your options are yes or no. You can start voting. All right, so your time is up. Can we have the results? So 58%, the higher vote has gone to yes, and 42%, the next vote has gone to no. So those were the polls for you, ladies and gentlemen, for you. Thank you for participating. And now we will be moving on to the, 1 second. Yes, so now it's time for the most awaited sessions of the day, the panel discussion, which will be on effective collaboration across manufacturing value chain. So now I'll be announcing the names of our panelists. I would request the panelists to please turn on their cameras and audio only once their names have been announced, so that our audience will know exactly who you are. So we have Mr. Hitendra N. Mishra, Senior Vice President and Head, EEC Eicher, Engineering Components, VE Commercial Vehicles. Then we have Mr. Amol Nagar, Director, Manufacturing Operations and Supply Chain, GE Aviation. And then we have Mr. Zurvan Morolia, Senior Vice President, Godrej and Boys. Do we have our gentlemen? Yes. So now I would like to request our moderator, Ms. Anvita Pillai, the sub-editor and correspondent, Publish Industry India Private Limited, to please begin the panel discussion. Anvita, over to you.
Thank you, Zueli. Thank you for that introduction. And it is my absolute pleasure to be discussing about effective collaboration across manufacturing value chain with you gentlemen. I hope I'm audible to all of you all.
Yes.
And okay, so just before we begin this conversation, I would like to give a brief context to today's discussion. So like we know, COVID has exposed vulnerabilities and risks lurking the organization supply chain for some companies. These weren't new day supply chain problems that arose due to the pandemic, but long-standing vulnerabilities which got exposed rather. For others, it opened new doors for innovation, growth, giving advantage to the organization to survive with volatile demand patterns. With this panel discussion, we will try to understand the role of digitalization in bringing effective collaboration. How can companies optimize the shift to interconnectivity for greater value, the challenges, and we will also deliberate on the action plan for streamlining manufacturing operations and technology innovations. So I will begin with my first question, and I'll start my question with Mr. Nagar. There has been a huge disruption in the manufacturing operations and supply chain in the past 1 year. So now, as we look forward to come out of the pandemic, what would be the best action plan for streamlining and reviving manufacturing operations and supply chain according to you?
So again, good afternoon, everyone. If I just go and look back last 1 year, and if I just take this year back, maybe 20 years ago, I would say that as an industry, we always looked at two approaches. If I remember when we starting our career, there was a lot of discussion around the whole risk management piece, and we used to talk about enterprise risk management was the topic of that day, and saying, yeah, this is what we need to do in case something happens, what are we going to do? A modified version of that came as a business continuity planning or management, BCM or BCP, whatever you can call it. But I can tell you in last 1 year, none of those plans worked because there were the limitation with those plans. And today, when we just go back and reflect, we can think about that both were like having the limitation that they were the risk mitigation tool or identification tool based on some history of event or what we were knowing from our experiences. And a big decision point was that amount of weightage you want to give it to the probability and the consequences, and which will go as your top priority when you are putting your risk mitigation plan, and what would be your bottommost priority. Other limitation of that topic, which now again we can think of, is the whole interconnection of the various risks, which was not there. You are identifying the risk, but you are not able to see the whole intersection or interconnection of those risks. That and again, one example which comes to my mind is that how second wave of COVID can impact the supply of oxygen for the industry, and you are unable to produce. We never thought about it. And again, in your wild imagination, you cannot really plan for it. So again, those are the kind of things where like not there at all, if I just look at it. And the last one is all the risk what we identified in the past based on our experiences were more around natural calamities or some unprecedented events which happen, like some geographical disturbances, maybe fire, flood, riots, and so on and so forth. And always, at least in our context, the plan was saying, okay, yeah, today something goes wrong with a plant A, then you have a plant B or a plant C, which can support you. But I think all of this exposed us completely where nothing worked because all of us were in the same situation, and complete, I would say, it's like everything was coming to the halt. And there were disruption one after another, which were helping, like not helping us to have the continuity of the business, though everybody tried their best to support it. But I would say that this pandemic taught us that there is a need of a global resilience. The problem was much bigger than what we could think of or what we could have planned for. So that is my take on this.
Mr. Nagar, I would just like to let you know that there's an issue with your bandwidth, because of which your audio is cutting a bit. So if you can maybe adjust that, it would be great. And understood your perspective on coming forward in the pandemic time. I would like to relay the same question to Mr. Mishra, that what would be the action for streamlining and reviving manufacturing operation and supply chain going on?
Yeah. Okay, thank you and good evening, and it's a pleasure to interact with you, the team, and the people who are there, and good opportunity to exchange views and understand new perspective about how things are working, right? So if you ask me, and I think very elaborate and detailed answer we got from Mr. Nagar, I would say if you ask me now to revive, because till the second wave struck, I was personally thinking that the COVID first wave is the strongest impact something can give. But after the second wave, I realized, or we all realized probably, that this second wave is much stronger than and highly disruptive as compared to the first wave. Because first wave had some fear, and in the second wave, what we personally saw that everybody lost somebody in the entire second wave of pandemic. Some very untimely young deaths. I think all the organizations, you can see a lot of support coming in terms of supporting the families, etc. But the fact of the matter is that nearly everybody in some close quarters has got some bereavement through somebody's death and somebody's untimely demise. So now this is a very, very strong situation, a very, very difficult situation to have. I would say 3 M's are very, very important. First is morale. What has happened is that suddenly people have lost morale, and what has stayed due to very high level of fear. So first and foremost, one very important thing is that the concept that your factories are safer than home, that has to be very strongly understood by everybody and felt by everyone who is coming to the place to work. Because that is where the actual production, actual manufacturing has to happen. The management or the key team or the key people have to create an environment or a situation where the morale is high and people feel that your workplace is safer than home. So that is step one, right, which is called morale. Then second is man. We suddenly got the impact of disruption that suddenly the manpower and which used to come every day to plant was reduced to 40%. People were just not wanting to come. Nobody thought that, we waited for a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, right? And pulling people or pushing people to come would not be a good option when the fear is so large, and the implications we all know. Somebody has lost, the beds are not there, the oxygen is not there, medicines are not there, etc., etc. So getting the people was extremely important. And then, what I would suggest to everybody based on the experience I have had, we moved from 45% attendance to 90% attendance in a matter of 4 weeks. Now, this has happened because one is morale, creating a very safe environment, and second was to ensure that people are brought in. So there are few ways, because once the migrant labor or migrant skilled force gets moved out, then what happens is that they will not come back to you in the next 4 to 8 weeks or 12 weeks, right? So you have to get new people. So getting new people, man as a entity, as one of the requirements to run the industry, so morale and man. And then third is having all your machines up and running besides the man. So that is very, very important. What we thought or what we got done is that a lot of virtual work in terms of making the machine up and running and ensuring that all the machines, wherever people could not come, like there are breakdowns and things are not working. So we were able to get a lot of virtual support wherever the complex machines were supposed to have. So I feel that morale is number one and safety is the key. If you have one case, they can give 40 cases, and one death in the factory creates such a low morale that you cannot imagine the implications. So very, very important, we have to have morale. We have to have men, because men, women, whatever is the workforce comprises of, to ensure that the machines are running and customers get served. And then, obviously, without the machines, it doesn't work. And fourth thing which I would say is that there are large companies, significantly large companies, with very strong safety protocol, very strong learning on how to tackle, I would say, work in a COVID environment. That know-how has to be extended to all your supplier partners. What we did was that we moved on to all our small suppliers to ensure that they also get the sanitization, they also get all the COVID knowledge, and we ensure that across the value chain, the safety is across. And even the vaccinations we got done for our people, their families, including suppliers. So this entire ecology, entire infrastructure has to work together to deliver and make this thing run or revive or streamline the operation as of yet.
Okay.
That is largely what I do.
Very well put, Mr. Mishra. I totally agree that man, machine, and morale is really important during the pandemic, and keeping safety a priority is even more important. So moving on, I would like to ask my next question to Mr. Marolia. So pre-pandemic, what were we doing wrong when it came to establishing collaborations across the manufacturing value chain? And what should be the approach and strategies to ensure an effective collaboration across the value chain in the new normal, according to you?
So good evening, everybody, and pleasure to be a part of this panel. I think first and foremost, listening to both Mr. Nagar as well as Mr. Mishra, I realize how much all of us are absolutely in the same boat. We are like brothers on this, and the experiences are identical. But I'm going to actually differ with you, Anvita, on your initial part of your question about what we were doing wrong. I think, what we were doing probably was appropriate to that time as we saw it. It's a matter of how we see it. But I would like to share the fact that, we had put certain initiatives into place. And since your question is more particular to do with collaboration across the value chain, I'm going to spend a little more time on that, because I think Mr. Mishra has already spoken eloquently on safety, morale, and these are things which we also. In fact, I would only like to digress a little bit and say that the National Safety Council had a very, very important theme for the current year's Safety Week. They said, learn from what we have gone through. And it is a fact that if you ask me, though the second wave was a lot more severe, the impact on our shop floors itself was less. And this is something that if I compare the two Q1s, we are in a situation now where the shop floors have taken a lead, and it is the demand that is in a bit of a lag because of various reasons, as we see across the various industries, whether it's appliances or consumer goods. So anyway, let me address the question that you had put up. So we had started an initiative practically a decade ago called Beyond Sourcing, where we actually worked beyond the transaction with our supplier partners. And a lot of the supplier partners actually were people who had started. See, we are a 124-year-old company. So there are supplier partners who are with us third generation. They started small, they've grown, but their management styles, their thinking, the whole setup is something that has needed to be transformed. So as we worked with them, we actually took them through a hand-holding process, a training process, whether it was basic management, moving on to shop floor, productivity, technology, taking them on to green, taking them on to sustainability processes, energy, and actually moving them into the space of what we call the ZED, or the zero effect, zero defect move. So we had actually, well, obviously without realizing it, been putting a lot of effort, which today helped when the responses that came were far. I would say the whole system was far more responsive. Yes, there was fear, no doubt, but I think we had that confidence in each other. this kind of a build-up that comes. So if you ask me, the second wave was that much, there was that much more resilience because this time everybody was not taken by surprise. Back of the mind, we knew that yes, numbers are going down, but the preparedness was much more. The lessons learned from wave one were much more, and we were able to handle the situation far better. Communication is a very important part of this, as we have to keep on building, as Mr. Mishra put it, the morale, but I'd go beyond that to say the morale of the complete supply chain. So that is part of what we have done. Of course, digital communication, I also believe, has helped. In a way, we've taken a 5 to 8 year leap as far as digital communication and virtual online communication is concerned. But today, having gone into that, the one-to-one communication with the supplier partners has also become that much better. Digital data transfer has, strengthened those systems so that a whole lot of communication also, which was more sort of, if I were to say, old school, suddenly got revamped. These things that were in the pipeline got a bit of an impetus. So this is how we have actually been building up, and these are things that we are going to be carrying forward into the new paradigm as we move forward.
And what would be like? Can you maybe highlight on some strategies and approach which can ensure an effective collaboration across the value chain?
So effective collaboration across the value chain really comes from each one has got certain core competences. So how does one work within that and at the same time be able to support each other? So for example, let's say right now we had the issue of oxygen shortage, industrial oxygen shortage across the chain. Okay. So what were the alternatives that were possible? So did we have a part of our supply chain, somebody who could do plasma cutting, who could do water jet cutting, who could support it with that? So this is how we have managed to, through collaboration, keep working around the challenges in order to be able to move ahead. The entire thing is customer centricity, number one. So how does one satisfy the needs of the customer? Because that confidence that you have, that we build with the supply chain, also has to be something that the customer perceives. So how does one build customer centricity, and how does one remain future ready so as to be able to take on each of these? So there are various technologies that we have brought into the system, which are helping us to require a different kind of skilling to operate, but at the same time are giving us sustainable processes and helping us maintain continuity.
Right. Okay, that was very well put. Thank you so much, sir. And so moving on, a previous speaker, Mr. Somil Gupta, said, which stuck with me, which is going forward, there will be uncertainties that cannot be eliminated, but will need to be managed. Right. So, Mr. Mishra, my question to you would be what would be the key areas to focus and navigate from while managing while managing these challenges?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, Anita, can you repeat the question? I missed out what you said.
Okay, so see, the whole thing is that firstly, what would be the key challenges in a process shift? There would be challenges which cannot be eliminated, but they'll have to be managed, right? So what would be the key areas to focus on and navigate from the challenges?
Right. What we are trying to say is that this is a new way of doing things, right? A new normal, which normally in business industry, people say that this is a new normal. And we all hear this is a new normal. So what we are saying is that to handle these challenges, there are two elements.
So could you please be a little louder?
Yeah. Is it clearer now, or should I? Is it clearer now?
Yeah, it's a bit louder now. Thank you.
But are you able to hear and with clarity?
It's still a bit soft. So if you can
you just
hold your mic closer? Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it is actually. We can hear you.
Hello, is it better now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so I've taken out the earphone.
Yeah.
That was hindering the discussion. Yeah. So what I am trying to say is that in this new normal, in the COVID-2 wave, post the COVID-2 wave, what is very important is that what are the challenges? The challenges, what I feel or what we went through is that how do we train the new manpower? There are so many new people around. How do we train the new manpower? So that challenge we have undergone through, setting up virtual training cells, virtual, person gets a feel on what to do before the person enters the shop floor. And once the person enters the shop floor, he doesn't find or he or she doesn't find anything new. And second is that because certain suppliers or small suppliers got affected very strongly adversely because of some of these problems, the challenge was to move to a new supplier at a very rapid pace. And those challenges we have handled by training of the supplier, involving our people through virtual ways, getting the videos, etc., of the part getting developed, and ensuring, because ultimately all while the domestic customers are down because of the situation is all across, but fortunately, as all of us know, that US is up, no mask required in US. Europe once again is coming back to normal. The demand cycle of Europe is coming back to the normal. So now we have to ensure that we are the stamp of a reliable country, and the stamp of a reliable supplier continues for long, irrespective of whatever is situation there. And our first COVID period, no customer, we have around 60 locations across the globe where the product goes. No customer suffered because of our product. Similar situation now, new people, as I mentioned, close and very strong training mechanism. Second, as far as the supplier base is concerned, equipping them where people got affected, equipping the new supplier to ramp up fast was a bigger challenge, and ensuring the new suppliers are able to be able to run their plants in a very safe environment and not get second disruption was the second challenge. And third, and one very important thing to manage all the challenges is train and train and train. So training becomes and communication becomes the key to handle all these challenges, because the fear and difficulty to learn new things is the key area issues we face or key challenges which are there in any manufacturing.
Right. And Mr. Marolia, would you like to add to the same topic about the key challenges to navigate?
So actually, I see it a little differently from saying that there would be a shift in manufacturing challenges. I'm looking at it more as an opportunity to, in certain ways, press a reset button.
Right.
See, if one really looks at on the competitiveness front, where is it that we were found wanting, if I were to use that word, on the competitiveness front? And there are certain very specific areas which, if one identifies, where we can focus in order to improve our competitiveness. When I talk of competitiveness, I am not talking about companies competing within the Indian market, but I'm talking about looking at the Indian manufacturing industry competing at the global stage. Now, when one talks about the Indian manufacturing industry, it's made up of myriads of SMEs.
Right.
Okay. And then again, if one looks at learning from the lessons of, let's say, Germany's build-up post-war and the importance of the Mittelstand, as they call it, the middle industry, I think that is where we need to strengthen and partner with them in order to then be able to grow together. Now, focus areas that I would consider critical for us to be able to really become competitive in the shifting scenario or the new scenario, as I would call it. One would be in terms of how do we manage consistency of our output, both in terms of quality as well as in terms of productivity. Whether it we talk of OEE or the overall equipment efficiency, etc. So appropriate automation is a term that I would like to use. It's not just automation. Automation is a huge subject, but appropriate automation, appropriate to meet a certain need at a certain cost point, because each one's needs, the needs of automation and digitalization at the levels of people speaking on this panel is different from that of a smaller industry. Okay. Traceability is something that is very important. Anything that we do, can we trace it back to where it has gone wrong? Because there are going to be those kind of failures, and how we handle that also makes a difference to our perception, the perception of us on the global reliability market. Okay. And safety. How do we ensure safety as we step up all these operations? How do we, because safety records are something that also play a very important role where global customers are concerned. They actually want to see safety records before they consider, for doing business with you. So, and all this, of course, with customer centricity. So that is how I would see taking the future opportunities and paradigm forward.
So, Mr. Mishra, you spoke about workforces and training and training the workforces, upskilling
Reskilling.
the workforces. So, reskilling the workforces. I'm so sorry. So, my question is that what would be some of the biggest changes that the workforce will have to adapt themselves to, given the evolving environment?
So, excellent. Now, let's first understand what are the skills that are required from a workforce over a period of time. If I look back to, let's say, even a decade ago, the kind of skills required from a work person was very much job related in terms of the final output of the product and how the product is handled and how the let me just call it manual skills. Today, the technology and the machines have reached a stage where the jobs are getting de-skilled, where the machine will take care of the output on its own. But what is now required is the skill to be able to understand the requirements, to be able to program the machine, to be able to understand, and then to be able to function within that. So when I talk of reskilling, I'm talking about moving from manual dexterity skills to more, use of the mind skills that are required. So those are the rising challenges that are coming up with the newer technology, which is something that has to be done if we are going to, go into our journey of being globally competitive.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Marolia. And Mr. Nagar, I would like to ask you the same questions. What do you think would some of the biggest changes would be for the workforce? And, what steps can organizations take to make sure that their full potential has been explored?
So if I look in our context of the workforce, because our workforce is a little bit matured and technical in terms of the kind of people we hire. But what I see that, and again, not just because of the pandemic, but if I just see where our kind of aviation industry is moving and kind of manufacturing we do, I see that one thing which is helping us is the adoption of this new technology in the digital space and ability of people to navigate through the various, I would say in their personal life, various tools or apps people use it. Similar kind of environment is there in our factories where they love to keep playing with those tools. And again, not just because they love it, but because of they can use those tools to make a lot of decision making. And when we work in a little bit different high performance teaming environment, where there is a huge focus on empowerment of the people and then ownership. And that is where they see that there is a shift which is happening in our context where people are coming, they're using all kind of tools. And I just heard the Siemens team talking about the kind of MES tools and all those things are like we implemented it on our shop floor. And that is helping our people to do the things in a better way and make the things simple for them. And it was not possible. It was not possible until otherwise they were like technology savvy and they were able to use the kind of thing they're using in their personal space. So that is helping us a lot in terms of people are really able to utilize these skills and helping us to grow.
Okay. And how would you say, like, considering the world economy and demand are both very volatile at this point, how can your organization future-proof, how can organizations future-proof their supply chain and, establish supply chain resiliency?
So definitely, there's a lot of talk around resiliency, agility, but I would say one thing, I want to leave one thought, and all of us, Mr. Mishra and Mr. Marolia would agree that supply chain at any given point of time, pre-pandemic or post-pandemic, is that how much efficiency you are driving out of this supply chain. And when you start looking at the supply chain efficiency, because at the end of the day, you need to look into that, how efficient your supply chain is and how much cost-effective product you are producing and providing it to your customer. When you talk about the efficiency, it makes your supply chain a little bit brittle. And when supply chain is brittle, anything goes wrong, definitely can break your supply chain in a big way. And that is where, if you look at the resilience, the way I look at it is the resilience is more around creating the redundancy in the system, creating more buffers, creating more alternate path for you to accomplish. But in the current context, if I just look at the resilience, the way we are thinking about is, let's not take the traditional approach where you think that resilience is nothing but a risk mitigation plan and plan to have the zero trauma in case something goes wrong, which is not the reality. And we have seen it, that each one of us got impacted because whatever happened in the wave 1 or the wave 2. And my learning there is that whenever these kind of situations are coming in, the resilience should be where you are surviving through the storm, you are adopting to it, like what we are doing, and we are talking about the new normal. And then how can we make it as a competitive advantage to grow further based on what we have learned? So I think that is where the focus should be.
Right. And Mr. Marolia, would you like to add to the same point on, how the organization can future-proof the supply chain?
I would sort of try and sum it up into a three-prong approach. And one, of course, is to improve agility in our systems throughout. So make our systems one where one can make quicker changes. So more of what if scenario understanding, which again is something which today's digital tools can help us with, and to be able to make changes fast, for which one requires, again, appropriate automation. One also requires standardization and what I would call mass customization, where you still give the offer of variety to the customer, but you do a lot of mass-based work that is one. The second one, of course, is the very sort of simple one where we talk about diversification of sources of inflowing material. That is also important. The third one is where I'm going to actually take on Mr. Nagar to an extent on the question of risk management. I agree, risk management is something where, we've sort of, it's the college book thing and whatever. So I would actually talk about risk-enabled process management. So when we actually take on various processes, we have to also consider what if and what can go wrong, and what are the lead indicators that I need to look for in order to have that preparation. So these are some of the aspects. These are the 3 points that I would say, in short, to prepare ourselves for better being able to take on and sustain in these kind of situations.
Right. And so this question is for all three of you. Maybe Mr. Mishra can begin, then Mr. Marolia can follow up, and finally Mr. Nagar can. How to make the best use of digitalization technologies for effective collaboration and revive the manufacturing operation?
So who's leading you?
Mr. Mishra, if you can.
Right. Okay. So what I feel, the word, what you said is very important. Smart digital investment, because normally if you see digital investments, people are doing lot of organization doing, because it is a very good way to say that we are a very strong digital organization. My word of caution, what I would say is that digital investments are very, very important, but at the right areas, we have to very clearly understand what are the key areas which are high impact for you. For example, I will share with you, VECV invested into a uptime center, complete digital initiative. Anywhere across the road, across the country, any truck faces any challenge, stops and needs a support, there is a 24/7 uptime center available for distant support on running the. Any mechanic, anybody required, you can give that support is provided. but not in the sense that this investment for what? Because the transporters economy, right, gets driven on number of hours the truck is working, and any stoppage of truck running is transporters economies or working this cash becomes affected. So smart investment is very, very important that the key issues gets handled, or critical high impact areas get improved, or there's a significant change in the way the things are working. So I have given you this example of 24/7. Now, there are many areas where the digital transformation can be used in a very effective manner. For example, I would say one is that if you see that there is a lot of work which happens in terms of documentation, right from the material entry to the gate and dispatch. So across the value chain, you see so much of documentation, so much manual work. If this entire thing is too much for any organization, it can be very well automated. Then you go a step forward. The machines, if you can, the machines, there if you see normal, if you get into any shop floor, the machines are having probably some standard, some operation standard, some quality checks, all being manually filled. There are parts which are not okay, getting put somewhere else, etc. Where digitalization will help is all these things can be, you can have a good digital solution. And where we have implemented the digital solution, we have got significant improvement in quality levels. We have got significant improvement in traceability of material. And then what you have said across the value chain, if you deploy right software or right ERP systems across the value chain, your inventories, your monitoring, your supplier dispatches to the plant are all transparently visible. Then I think Mr. Volvelia talked about OE, overall equipment efficiency. That OE is something which many of the locations, if you see many of the plants, people will do some calculation. People will say, okay, today my OE is this. This entire thing, there's a very, what we have done in all our machines is that we have put the right software. The OE calculation, every shift comes to the, either the laptop or the screen of the hierarchy or to the mobile. So all these monitoring, so all this, because for us, for any the asset, or this is a very high capital intensive business. This is the current gear business which I run is a high capital intensive business. So there the key is to get the maximum out of each investment. So there we are, all these initiatives are important. So what I'm trying to say is smart digital investments are, you should know where digitalization will give you significant impact in your performance, and performance which is valuable to the customer. And what I am also saying is that when we make this investment, we should be not having a myopic view. An investment in digitalization in terms of quality, you have to see end to end where all does the quality cost come in, or what is the cost of poor quality, and then weigh the investment. So while we should be very, very clear on what to invest and what is the optimum investment, the areas of outcome should be very clearly known and should be very comprehensive. We should not have a small view. But it is extremely important. Digitalization is not the panacea for all issues. We have to be very clear which areas and which are the high impact ones.
Mr. Marolia, if you would like to add or
yeah, I'm going to take on exactly where Mr. Mishra left off. I think you summed it up when you said end to end. It is not the penny or the problems, but it is certainly something that elevates the entire process. And I would like to actually talk end to end. Since I've been talking a lot on customer centricity, let me start from that point and then walk you right back to raw material quickly in a few steps. So in terms of customer interface at point of purchase itself, when you're talking to the customer about a final product, a set of product, for example, the use of augmented reality is something which today is becoming more and more. So if, for example, let's say a customer is coming in to see how his room is going to look or his kitchen is going to look. So can we show it to him and make him actually have a virtual walkthrough? These are, for example, one of the outputs. The very important outflow of this is that this information can be transferred directly through the system without any fear of loss in transmission or any kind of corruption of data, so that what the shop floor gets is exact information of what the customer needs. So that is one part of the story that I'm talking about. The second part of the story that I'm talking about, I'm moving now one step, further up the chain, is the use of softwares, because customers need customization. So that's part of, so parametric design, which can be done at the point of purchase, for example, such that from a library of standard components, how quickly can I create the exact customized solution for the customer, create the drawings, and send them into the backend. At the same time, use that to create that reality, that augmented reality, which I was talking about, to share with the customer. So this is how customer interface, is actually built up using digitalization. Then if we come to process parameter control, this is a very important area. So now I have moved from there, I moved into the manufacturing area, which is where we really are, all our hearts beat there. So process control through digitalization. This is another major area. Process control gives us a continuous inflow of information. It helps us in quality assurance as compared to quality control. It helps us in terms of predictive maintenance, which again goes back to quality. It helps us getting first time right every time. These are all factors which otherwise would entail non-value added costs, which today if the customer is paying, tomorrow he's not going to pay. And globally, nobody is going to pay for it. So if we want to be globally competitive, we have to learn these things. Then comes the control of material flow. How do we make this without waiting time? Waiting time, again, is a non-value added cost that has to be factored in. So use of AGVs, for example, in place of forklifts. And this is something that is not, it's not sci-fi, it's something that we are actually doing. So use of AGVs within the shop floor in order to move material across. So when material is required, it reaches the machine in time. There is no waiting time either for the machine or for the material coming in advance while some other machine is waiting. So you can do better scheduling. Other than that, in terms of the various processes today, for which we have what we call back office, where there's a lot of data entry and stuff to be done. So use of RPA, or repetitive process automation, in order to be able to make these faster, make them work 24/7, as well as remove the chances of error. So RPA is another part of it. And finally, the whole thing being strung together through electronic data or information flow. So for example, things like AGN, Mr. Mishra referred to, information about dispatches. So AGN, so that when material is leaving a supplier's gate, at the shop floor, you are aware that this material is on its way. There is no punching of, challans to be done, no punching of manual documents. So these are all costs which are not adding value. We have to actually find ways of stripping these costs from the entire system. And digitization is one way in which we are able to do this effectively. So keeping the customer at the center, using appropriate automation and digitization for material information, along with, of course, the Industry 4.0, machines being able to communicate with each other, using central planning hubs. These are ways in which we can take advantage of digitalization.
Right. And Mr. Nagar, if you would like to add your 2 cents to the question.
Definitely, because I think Mr. Mishra and Mr. Murali already covered a lot. I would only say one thing, that there is no debate, there cannot be any debate in current environment where all of us are so used to this digital world, starting from tracking our food, the time we order, and we can track where the person is. From if somebody is coming to meet you, you can always ask, please share your Google location, or your WhatsApp location, so that we know where you are. So how come we cannot have the same expectation in industrial world? So no question, digital is going to be the way of life. Second thing I would say, only the thing where it comes about the investment. Think a scenario that you have a mobile phone where you only have a storage space of 4 GB, and think about what all kind of app you want to keep in your mobile phone. And look at your mobile phone today. You might be having 100 different apps, but what you may use maybe 5, 10 or 20. Same thing applies in our industrial environment as well, that please invest your money or time where it makes sense for you. And I would say, go back and look at your problem, that today where you are struggling, do some kind of a problem solving, identify the problem, do a root cause analysis and find out, okay, this is the problem I want to solve, and then go and buy a digital solution for it. And I know it is like end to end and wing to wing we need to do, but look for what works in your context. And in the current today's environment, there are a lot of simple and smart tool available which can help you to solve your problem on a day-to-day basis. So that is where I would say I am part.
I was going to ask you to summarize maybe in 30 seconds, but I think you already did that for our audience. Maybe if Mr. Marolia and Mr. Mishra can also summarize in 30 seconds for our audience, maybe
okay, 30 seconds, you've got it. Something. You got it. So if I were to summarize all that we've talked of, okay,
yeah,
I'll do it in 30. Okay, if you're going to summarize all that we've talked of, I would say we have to be first and foremost customer centric and using digitalization to be future ready. So future ready with customer centricity. And there are three approaches that I would have to, three major points that I would talk of. One is appropriate technology. Okay. Number two is look after your people. Morale, safety, people's health proactively, because that is our most invaluable asset, one that does not depreciate.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the third is your partners and your supply chain. Keep them as partners and grow them with you. So that's my quick sum up for it.
Okay. And Mr. Mishra, if you would like to add to it.
Yeah, 30 seconds. I've started my stopwatch now. Okay, good. What I would say, a few things, first and foremost, I would say that the crisis which has come out of COVID has created new opportunities. The fact that we are having this virtual conference and everybody's background is different in terms of what you see in the screen is all because of this pandemic. Had this pandemic not been there, we would be blocking one conference hall and doing this conference. So that is something. This is crisis is opportunity to make new things work. Second is that there is a strong growth story for the country in the year ahead and years ahead. We have to be safe, but we have to be ready. And digitization and optimum investment will take us there. That is all I want to close with.
Okay, thank you. I mean, this is one of the most enlightening and informative sessions that I have been a part of. I can feel, I think during the conversation, many people agreed to whatever you all were saying, and they were very happy with you all putting it out loud. And with this, I would like to put an end to this discussion. But before we go, there are a few questions in the comment section. I would ask Mr. Jitkar to come on board and just ask you all the question. Over to you, Mr. Jitkar.
Yes, thanks, Anvida. It was very insightful, interesting session. I agree with your feedback on that. Thanks to Mr. Marolia, thanks to Mr. Mishra and Mr. Nagar for putting in your very, very useful and practical thoughts to make the session more look as a real session, that the people will get to know about the real understanding of what is going on, what are the challenges, and what we can do further to get out of this crisis time. So it was thanks again for your participation. It was pleasure having you in the conference session. Okay, I have one question that a little bit out of this topic, also related to the topic, but little bit out of this context. The government has already announced a few stimulation packages for the industry to survive and to come out of this situation, along with this also the production linked incentive scheme. So what are your thoughts on that? Whether these packages which are already announced, these are enough to enough for people or for the industry that will help the industry to come out of the situation and to get back to the growth mode? Or do you think there is something else which the government can do further to help the industry survive more, especially from the SME point of view? Because recently I heard Mr. Rajiv Bajaj from Bajaj Auto saying that he said that his company is capable of taking care of their employees, their industry, their customers, their suppliers. But what he also expects the government to do something is for the MSMEs. So what are your views on that? Mr. Muralia?
So I think, you know, schemes, of course, are, I would say, always well intended. So there is no doubt about that. And probably the challenges is in the implementation. So one has to actually look at how they're implemented in order to be able to comment on that. The major challenge that MSMEs face today is, of course, in terms of cash flow. And again, how that is handled is going to be, how user-friendly it is made is something that is very important. Of course, they already do have their safety net in terms of 45 days payment terms, and but at the end of the day, it's not easy because today they have a major problem in terms of with cyclical, demand. And it's not just cyclical demand, but demand getting affected by the pandemic. Then they've got temporary people going away, then having to redo the whole thing. So they require support in terms of being able to put in certain sustainability measures in order to ensure that there is continuity in their business. So they would require probably certain longer term financing options. Okay. And I would really not look at, major incentives as such, but definitely being able to make work easier for them. Probably certain exemptions would help for a short term period, but more in terms of relaxation on timelines as far as that is concerned. Otherwise, one would set wrong precedent.
That's right. That's correct. Yeah, and also one question, like whatever discussions we attended today, there was mostly on some technologies which we can adopt in your manufacturing, in your supply chain. Some are like futuristic technologies. So do you think the Indian industry or Indian people, industrialists or Indian factories are equipped enough to get adapted to those kind of technologies in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of the skilling, in terms of the overall mindset?
You see, first we need to accept the fact that it has to be done. And once we do that, then the process steps start coming into place. On the technology front of it, one has to keep pace with technology. There is no option over there, in order to be able to maintain, if I were to use the word, one's relevance in the whole thing. And reskilling also has to be done. So by using appropriate technology, one is then able to take the kind of steps based on one's appetite on how much one can take on at any given point of time. But there is no escape from the fact that it has to be done. If I would just add, there are a lot of innovative ways in which existing factories, setups can also be upgraded with sensor-based technologies, which would help them to make these baby steps towards what we call Industry 4.0 in a very big manner and a very sort of blanket manner. But there are ways in which what I would call brownfield projects can be very successfully done. And I think a lot more visibility needs to be provided to that. I have had the opportunity to work with one such startup, for example, who actually had sensors which could pick up sound disturbances on the machine and be able to predict failures of the machine or quality of output. Now, these kind of things are investments which we need to, technology which we need to bring in so as to get more and more appropriate digitalization.
Okay. Mr. Nagar, would you like to add your comments on this?
As I was saying that adaptation of technology is like, definitely you will be out of context if you don't do it. And again, I'm more like I could relate the things more to the personally. Think about again the pandemic and the situation. a small kid from 4 year, or maybe 2-year kid also I've seen using the technology, till the parents who are at 80 or 85 years, they are able to adopt to the new normal and the new technology. Correct? Tell me if anybody is saying that, okay, my grandparents, they are unable to use cell phone for making a WhatsApp video call and looking at around the world. So again, I will come back to the same point that yes, technology is important. There is no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, you need to think about that how and what works in our SME context, what kind of frugal solutions are available, which can give the same, I would say, the outcome, which can be provided by some of the big technological solution, like implementing the end-to-end ERP. There may be small solutions which you can use in your context and keep looking at your supply chain. You can pick up some of the sensor or counter or manual system where you are getting all the input and something at the back end is able to analyze and give you the data. Definitely, yes, it is possible. And I think there is a huge opportunity in this country where SME IT companies, or I would say SME solution providers, can get benefited in a big way, where they can bring in the solution which are affordable, which are easy to maintain or manage, and have a little bit of expandability.
Okay. Mr. Mishra, I want to ask this question again, the extended version of this question probably. Since we have heard people talking about the new technologies, and there is a surge in the adaptation of digitalization technologies over the last, especially for the last 1 year. But do you think it's already discussed and debated topic earlier as well? Do you think this will cause any kind of insecurity in the employees in terms of their job losses, or they getting transferred to some other role? What is your experience in that?
Right. Before I answer this, Shekhar, I would just come back to your first question. MSMEs, right, are badly affected because of the situation, and there's a huge cash flow problem there. Right. April, May, June, probably June also, billings will be less, inflow will be less, and any support from the government will definitely be good. While larger organizations are supporting their suppliers, deferring, enhancing payment, giving loans, etc. But any support would be always be useful. Now, insecurity. I'll come back to insecurity. Well, it is largely how you approach the subject, right? If I can tell you our own experience in the commercial vehicles, there is a lot of automation done. There is a lot of work done in terms of new technology. Lot of work done in terms of making the process flow digital, right? And what has happened is that the confidence of the employee has to be very strong, that while you are gaining, you are losing or there is a discomfort. Only discomfort of absorption is the discomfort. But what you gain and what organization gains is what makes it the entire thing useful for everybody. So there'll be fear, there'll be insecurity, but the organization has to start with the starting point that this is the journey, this is the outcome, and everybody will get absorbed in various roles. And this is how we have done. Because if the organization is growing, people are required. Only where Mr. Marodia said, reskilling, discomfort of adaptation. Then second is that the mundane job of pick and place, clamp, all those jobs will reduce gradually. Without that, we will never be competitive. So on one end, the skills, the knowledge base has to go up. On the second hand, people will have discomfort, but with right communication, a way forward, and a future progression, this would get, over a period of time, come back to the normal level. All you have to do is ensure that you don't take out people because of it.
Great, that's quite valid point and observation. Anyway, thanks a lot to all of you again, and to make this discussion very interactive and interesting to the audience. I'm sure the outcome of this would be great, because we would be publishing a report out of this and also putting this video for a larger audience. So thanks a lot again. Over to you, Anvita.
Thank you so much, Mr. Marolia and Mr. Mishra. Mr. Amit had to leave because he had another commitment lined up. So I'll just ask Zweli to, give the closing. Thank you so much for being a part of this discussion.
Thank you. Pleasure was ours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Over to you, Zweli.
Thank you, gentlemen, for a very engaging discussion. I have to agree, it was one of the most interesting discussions even I have listened to. So thank you once again. And ladies and gentlemen, our audience, thank you. We'll now be coming to a close of our conference. The conference indeed had a lot to give to us, from the fact that even the slight investment in your capability can make a year's difference in your business, to even we were again reminded that automation technology is not taking away jobs. And so we had a lot of enlightening information given through this conference, and a lot of reminders as well. So before we close, I would like to thank our wonderful audience for being a part of today's conference. And of course, I would like to thank our revered speakers and panelists. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.